Yo legends! Welcome back to the channel. Grab your headphones and lock in, because today's story is on another level. Want the next chapter? Drop a comment below, and if the legend continues, I'm bringing it straight to you. Disclaimer: I do not claim ownership of this story. All rights belong to the original creators. Note: I'm constantly tweaking the settings to make it as immersive as possible. The Master of Time. Chapter 21. Enemies meet on a narrow road. The two children were obviously unprepared and were at a loss for what to do with Fang Xingai's invitation. Uchiha Wang couldn't stand the two people procrastinating anymore and spoke directly to Hishinokid. Why invite both of them? Weaklings don't deserve to be invited. Ishino Fang could see that Uchiha Wang, like most Uchiha, was a person who believed in the strong. In their eyes, only the strong have the right to speak and are qualified to make decisions. Hearing Uchiha Nozomi's contemptuous words, Izawa Ikumi, as the leader of the class, couldn't bear it. Without saying a word, I rolled up my sleeves and was ready to fight him with real weapons. Uchiha Wang was naturally not afraid of him. There was provocation in his eyes, and the desire to fight was stirring in his heart. The smell of gunpowder was so strong that the people around the two men hurriedly pulled them apart. And he kept persuading her. Wang, don't be impulsive. This is a street. If you fight, the teacher will put you in solitary confinement. Fujito Takator used all his strength to persuade him earnestly. No matter who it is, if they start a fight on the street, Mr. Izawa will definitely put them in solitary confinement. He didn't want to be locked up in a dark confinement cell. He was afraid. Hinata Kazumi's face was no longer calm, and he leaned over to whisper in her ear, "Ikumi, now is not the time to fight." In response, the two of them snorted at each other, turned their heads away, and didn't want to see each other. Seeing this scene, Xingai Fang touched his chin and said with interest, "I think you two will get along well in the future." His words were strongly opposed by the two. Whoever gets along with him, I, Uchiha Wang, will not associate with him. Humph, people like him deserve to have no friends. The two men were confronting each other, heads butting each other, competing with each other, neither of them giving in. Even if someone was pulling him aside, he couldn't be stopped. Hishino Fang shook his head helplessly, then decided to end the battle quickly, and then gave each of them a slap in the face. Bang bang, the dull and crisp sound made Tadu Takatora and Hinata Kazumi take a step back in fear. At the same time, they subconsciously covered their foreheads, and a look of fear appeared in their eyes. "Asshole, what are you doing?" "Ah, Hishinokid." The two people who were hit were glaring at each other and shouting. Xingai Fang was very satisfied with this, and then walked forward, waving his hand without looking back. "If you keep fighting, the sun will soon set. Are you going to leave or not?" Uchiha Wang glared at Izawa Ikumi, then followed without saying a word. After looking at each other, Izawa Ikumi and Hinata Kazumi decided to follow. A group of people came to Xingai Fang's house. "I'm back." Fang Hishino took off his shoes and shouted into the house. Sakura Kinomoto walked out and saw the people behind Kid Hishino at a glance. "Huh? This is Xingai Fang." Turned sideways and introduced, "Mom, they are my classmates. I invited them to my home." Okay. Kinomoto Sakura's face was filled with joy, and she was extremely happy. "You kid, you finally have a friend." Xingai Fang spread his hands helplessly and shrugged. "Hello, Auntie." Several people greeted her, and Sakura Kinomoto was immediately overjoyed. After entering the room, Hishinokid collapsed directly on the sofa. Fujito Takatora hesitated for a moment, but still sat down properly. Even Izawa Ikumi, who is always impetuous, is very well behaved in other people's homes. Not to mention Uchiha Nozomi and Hinata Kazumi, who came from prominent families. Both of them learned etiquette since childhood, and it is ingrained in their bones, so there is no need to say more. "Come on, eat some fruit first." Dinner will be ready soon. Sakura Kinomoto brought some fruit. Then, seeing the look on Hoshino Kide's face, he became so angry that he lifted his ear with one hand. Sayao Feng, the guests are all here. How can you be so rude? Hurry up and sit down. Sakura Kinomoto scolded without any politeness. He didn't care whether he would embarrass himself in front of his classmates. Faced with his mother's dominance, Xing'ai Feng had to temporarily avoid the limelight and sit still obediently. Sakura Kinomoto nodded in satisfaction, then looked at her classmates. Her expression instantly softened. If Sayao Feng bullies you, tell Andy and I'll take care of him. Several people looked at each other, not knowing what to say. Hoshino Feng held his forehead helplessly. Seeing Izawa Ikumi's eyes rolling around, he had a bad feeling in his heart. Andy, he bullied me in the classroom before. As soon as Izawa Ikumi opened her mouth, Hoshino Kide swallowed her saliva and fled silently, but was stopped by the quick-eyed and quick-handed Sakura Kinomoto. Sayao Fen, come, let's talk. Although he had a gentle smile on his face, Hoshino Kide felt threatened by death. Before he could say anything to defend himself, Sakura Kinomoto lifted the back of his collar and walked into a separate room. Ikumi, this isn't a good idea. Hinata Kazumi felt something was wrong. Izawa Ikumi snorted, what's the big deal? He is the one who provokes me. Seeing that she was so unreasonable, Uchiha Wang didn't give her any face and spoke directly. It's shameful to blame others for your inferior skills. What did you say? Izawa Ikumi glared at him, but Uchiha Wang was not at all inferior. The scene on the street reappeared, but everyone was more restrained because they were in someone else's home after all. The situation was at a stalemate for a moment, and just as the two were about to compete again, Hoshino Yoda came back. It came too suddenly, and the four little ones were immediately embarrassed, especially the aggressive Izawa Ikumi and Uchiha Nozomi. After a while, Hoshino Kide limped back, not knowing what Kinomoto Sakura had done to him. Then I saw my father and four other people sitting opposite each other, and the atmosphere was a little stagnant for a moment. Seeing Hoshino Kide coming back, Yanto waved at him. What happened to them? I saw two people confronting each other when I came in. Yang Tai said helplessly. That's okay. They fight to show their love. They won't feel happy if they don't fight. You'll get used to it. Hoshino Kide was not surprised at all and spoke to Yanta on her own. He ignored the murderous looks from the two men. Really? Yang Tai touched his chin, feeling that he was out of date. It seemed like their relationship was not good. Xing'ai Feng patted the two men on the shoulders and said, we are all classmates. We will see each other sooner or later. Is it necessary to target them like this? HMPH. X2 Xing'ai Feng was at a loss as these two people were naturally incompatible, but fortunately it didn't go too far. At this time, Sakura Kinomoto had prepared dinner and greeted everyone. It's time to eat. Go wash your hands. It was dinner time, and for the sake of the food, the two of them reconciled temporarily. The dinner table was much quieter. They are all children, they have bad tempers, forget things quickly, and can't take their eyes off the delicious food. I have to say that Sakura Kinomoto's cooking skills are superb. After the meal, all the food was eaten. After dinner, Uchiha Wang once again asked to fight with Hoshino Kide. This time, Xing'ai Feng did not refuse. He digested the food a little and then brought a few people to the backyard. Chapter 22, The Tenacious Back. Uchiha Wang's whole body tensed up and he felt a little nervous inside. But the warlike factor in Uchiha's blood urged him to fight. The tension was soon replaced by calmness. He took a deep breath and his mind raced as he devised a strategy. Others stood on the sidelines, eagerly awaiting the battle. Hinata Kazumi, as the oldest person present, is quite powerful and has already opened her Byakugan. The bulging nerves all around her eyes gave her unparalleled observation abilities. Fujito Takatora was very worried. fearing that Uchiha Nozomi would be injured. "Boss, please be gentle." Hearing Fujito Takatora's request, Hoshino Kid rolled her eyes in annoyance. "Doesn't this guy worry about me? But I thought so in my heart and it took it to heart. Come on, Uchiha, give that guy a good beating." Unlike the others, Izawa Ikumi clenched her fists and cheered for Uchiha Nozomi. He looked gritting his teeth, as if he was still remembering what happened in the morning. Uchiha Wang simply ignored it, focusing his attention highly and leaning forward. Although it was night and Uchiha Nozomi did not open his Sharingan, even so, the eyesight of Uchiha people is better than that of ordinary people. Even in the pitch dark, they can still move as fast as rabbits and are not affected by the darkness at all. Uchiha Wang was seen hunching his body, like a cheetah ready to attack at any time, full of danger. They are waiting for the right moment to act, and as soon as they catch the slightest sign of trouble, they will attack quickly, leaving no one a chance to breathe. He has a solid foundation and faces strong enemies with high morale and the courage to attack and confront them. Based on this point alone, his future path as a ninja will be smooth and his achievements will not be low. It is never too much to be cautious, especially in this crisis-ridden ninja world. Seeing Uchiha Wang's actions, Hoshino Kid was deeply impressed and his evaluation of him increased greatly. In an instant, like lightning, Uchiha Wang took the lead in attacking. Several kunai and shurikens flew out of his hands. Judging from their trajectories, they had no pattern at all and seemed to be thrown randomly. They posed no threat at all. Fujito Takatora was even surprised and said, "Wang, you just threw it away casually." But then Izawa Ikumi glared at him and said, "Shut up. This is the Uchiha family's unique throwing technique. Don't talk nonsense if you don't understand it." When Fujito Takatora heard this, he was instantly speechless and stopped talking. He just watched the battle in front of him. Fang's eyes lit up. The technique was so skillful that it was obvious that the artist had practiced for a long time. Don't underestimate these kunai. The chakra of ordinary ninjas is very limited. Even the Uchiha does not have much. Once the chakra is exhausted, the competition will become a test of physical skills. If you are not good at investing accurately, you can do a lot with it, and it is a means to help yourself survive. Kunai and shurikens flew out in a chaotic manner along pre-designed trajectories. The sound of iron colliding continued to ring out, and finally it attacked Fang at a very tricky angle. There were no way to avoid the blind spots, and because the yard was not big, Hoshino Kid had no time to use ninjutsu to defend himself. At this moment, Fang may only be able to sit and wait for death and admit defeat directly. If it were someone else, perhaps this would be the only way, but who can control time? Hoshino Fang slowly raised one hand and snapped his fingers elegantly, and the surrounding space changed. The kunai that had originally attacked like a meteor fell at a speed visible to the naked eye until it came to a standstill. This scene truly stunned everyone. They had never seen Hoshino Kid control time before. I had only heard about it before, but now I have seen it with my own eyes and it is simply amazing. This was the case for several people outside the field, but not for Uchiha Wang. His expression was extremely ugly. In the face of this method, all visual physical attacks are ineffective. This made most of his methods invalid and useless. The CPU was spinning at high speed, and he was thinking through each tactic in his brain. Finally, his eyes darkened and he moved forward at high speed. He knew very well that the difference in strength was too great and the outcome was already determined, but he still wanted to give it a try. If he gave up easily, he wouldn't have come this far and been noticed by the Hokage. Persevere and you will see the day when the sun rises. Hoshino Fang took a stance, his eyes focused. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Then he took a step forward and rushed towards Uchiha Wang. Then, a hand-to-hand fight broke out. Uchiha Nozomi's physical skills are solid, and every move is extremely solid. In this respect, he is even better than Izawa Ikumi. It can be seen that he has put a lot of effort in his daily life and his physical strength is also very good. Xing Feng exchanged dozens of moves with him, and his hands were swollen and red. And Uchiha Wang's eyes were calm without any ripples, so calm that it was scary, as if he didn't feel the pain in his hands. Izawa Ikumi was deeply shocked when she saw this scene. Ask yourself, if it were her, there would be no way that there would be no sound at all. At the very least she would have rubbed it. But Uchiha Wang did it. He was focused and concentrated on the battle. Just based on this point, he is not as good as Uchiha Wang. She pursed her lips tightly and bit them with such force that they broke. The bright red blood flowed into her mouth, bringing with it a slightly sweet taste, which stirred up waves in his heart. The battle was still going on. The sound of flesh hitting flesh was endless, and everyone was sweating. At this time, Uchiha Wang's face was bruised and swollen, with bruises all over his face. His clothes were already soaked with sweat, but even though his arms were sore, he was still waving them. Compared to his appearance, Hishinokid is in much better condition. After all his intense physical training was not in vain. This gave him a substantial boost in both his stamina and endurance, ensuring he had enough stamina to sustain the fight. But he also had a bruise on his face, which was the result of his carelessness. Haha, you actually still have the strength, Uchiha Wang said breathlessly. His hands were shaking and he could hardly maintain his fists. Hishinokid's chest rose and fell slightly, showing that he still had some strength left. He said with admiration, "You are very strong. At least in my opinion, your willpower is far beyond your peers and even stronger than some ninjas." Hishinokid's praise did not make Uchiha Wang happy. His eyes darkened and then anger rose and he roared, "What's the use? I'm still too weak to protect my family." The sudden roar silenced the others. They looked confused, not knowing what was going on. Xing Feng was silent for a moment, walked forward and said sincerely, "Can you tell me what happened?" Uchiha looked into those bright and dazzling eyes and left without saying a word. Xing Feng did not try to keep him, but just watched him leave without saying goodbye. The others finally came to their senses and came forward to ask. Xing Feng shook his head, staring at the figure that was already moving away, and said, "I don't know, but I think he has a tragic past." Chapter 23. You actually investigated me. Uchiha Wang left without saying goodbye, and Yanta came over to ask what happened. Ishino Feng said that there were some minor conflicts and asked him to handle it himself, and simply fooled him away. The rest of the people stayed for a while and then left one after another. Before leaving, Hinata Kazumi turned around and said something. "I will ask about Uchiha Nozomi. Maybe I can find out something." Hishinokid smiled and accepted it happily. "Thank you, Kazumi-san, for your help." Hinata Kazumi frowned, then let go. "Just call me Kazumi. I think it's nice to be friends with you." After saying that, he turned and left, leaving Xing Feng with a smile on his face as he murmured, "Feeling good?" "I think so too," he thought narcissistically. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye, a month has passed, and Xing Feng has also been in school for a month. On that day, except for Uchiha Nozomi, the others often walked together, went to school together, and went home together after that day. The relationship gradually warmed up and we became friends, without the restraint we had before. After school, Hinata Kazumi suddenly said, "I found out about Uchiha Nozomi." As soon as the words fell, Xing Feng asked curiously, "How?" Hinata Kazumi pursed her lips, seeming to find it difficult to speak. After all, such an experience was truly regrettable. He took a deep breath and slowly explained the reason. Before the establishment of Konoha, the war had never stopped and the fighting among ninjas continued. The Uchiha clan is no exception. On weekdays, patrols are carried out to ensure the safety of the outskirts of the clan. Uchiha Nozomi's brother, Uchiha Tatsuo, was on that patrol team. They thought everything was normal, but the unexpected happened so quickly and they were ambushed by ninja attacks. The entire patrol was wiped out, but if that was all, it wouldn't have been enough to worry Hinata Kazumi. After all, in the ninja world, the death of family members can happen at any time, and separation and death are always experienced. But afterwards, rumors spread from somewhere that Uchiha Tatsuo was a spy. For a time, the news spread from 1 person to 10 people, and from 10 to 100 people. There were many different opinions and speculations. Public opinion quickly erupted, and all the clan members came to seek an explanation. Later, the clan leader came forward and calmed the storm, but it left an indelible shadow in Uchiha Nozomi's heart at that time. There was more to the incident. Although the patriarch came out to calm the situation, the anger in people's hearts was still burning. Out of fear of the clan leader, those people dared not to do anything openly and had to trip him up secretly. Uchiha Chen's pension was divided among them. Only the elderly grandmother and the young Uchiha Nozomi were left at home, and they were often bullied by people who came to their house. These things were done in a very secretive manner and there was no way to trace them. Over time, Uchiha Wang grew up in such an environment. Hinata Kazumi said so much in one breath that her mouth was almost dry. This incident caused a huge sensation at the time, otherwise I wouldn't have been able to find out about it. Fujito Takatora clenched his fists and waved them angrily. He, who had always been a coward, was filled with rage, not to mention others. No wonder he cares so much about strength and improving himself. Xing'ai Feng shook his head and said with emotion, I guess he wants to clear his brother's name and prove his innocence. When Izawa Ikumi heard this, she immediately muttered, I never expected that guy to have such an experience. Xing'ai Feng raised his eyebrows and said in a teasing tone, After hearing so much, do you want to give way to him in the future? Izawa Ikumi was stunned for a few seconds, then glared at him and said awkwardly, Who wants to let him? I won't. Hoshino Kid looked her up and down, nodding from time to time. Izawa Ikumi was almost pissed off by his gaze. Just as she was about to say something, Hoshino Kid spoke first. Now that everything is clear, let's go find him. Everyone nodded, and then, with a clear goal in mind, they headed straight for the grove not far from the school. Every time after school, he would go there to train by himself. As for how he knew the Byakugan's observation ability is well deserved. Even the Sharingan cannot match it. Call out. Exclamation, exclamation. As the group came in, they heard the sound of collision caused by kunai. Everyone looked at each other and touched it. The climate in Konoha is mild and the trees grow very lushly. After some effort, I pushed aside the bushes. What came into view was the figure of Uchiha Nozomi training hard. Xing'ai Feng looked closely and found that he had weights tied to his wrists and feet as well. So he sighed, if we keep working this hard, I'm afraid someone will lose the first place. There was a hint of sarcasm in his tone, and you didn't have to think to know who he was talking about. Izawa Ikumi snorted in dissatisfaction, but didn't say anything else, as if she agreed. Seeing that she did not refute, Hoshino Feng did not say anything else and watched Uchiha Wang training quietly. They all kept silent in tacit agreement, waiting until he was exhausted and sat down to rest before coming out. You will harm your body if you train like this. The voice of Hoshino Kid sounded from behind. Uchiha Wang subconsciously tensed his body and took a fighting stance, and then he saw Hoshino Feng and others slowly walking towards him. How did you know I was here? After a brief moment of astonishment, Uchiha Wang's face turned red, as if his secret had been discovered. Also, how long have you been here? Faced with his excited inquiries, Xing'ai Feng answered him honestly. I just watched all of your training, it didn't take long. Hearing this, Uchiha Wang immediately said in shame and anger, You actually said it so easily. It was not difficult to see that he was already incoherent and his face was red. Hoshino Kid chuckled, thinking that he was quite cute like this. but he did not forget what they were here for. Ignoring his ashamed and angry expression, he sat down, and the others followed suit. No one said a word, and the atmosphere suddenly became strange, which made Uchiha Wang feel something was wrong. He took a few steps back, wondering if it was because of what happened a month ago. After all, we left in a hurry, which was a failure no matter how you think about it. I was so excited at the time that I didn't think too much about it. I couldn't help but feel upset when I thought about it afterwards. He felt that what he thought was right, almost correct. Just as Uchiha Wang was thinking about how to make amends, the others looked at each other and secretly decided who would speak. In the end, it was decided that Hinata Kazumi would do it, as she knew more and had a less strong personality. He is the most suitable candidate among the few. Hinata Kazumi considered the appropriate words and spoke softly. "Ho, we know what happened to you before." These words were like a nuclear bomb, exploding in Uchiha Wang's heart, and he couldn't calm down for a long time. After a brief moment of unconsciousness, Uchiha Wang became visibly angry. "You actually investigated me." He was like a young lion in the rage. There was a gleam of pain in his eyes, and the most unbearable memories in his heart were exposed to the sun. The defenses he had built up in his heart suddenly collapsed and shattered. Chapter 24. Konoha Year 7 Valley of the End. His thoughts were instantly pulled back to the painful past, and he seemed to be in that dark corner again, feeling helpless and lonely. His heartbeat quickened, blood rushed to his cheeks, and he clenched his fists, trying to release the anger in his heart. Hinata Kazumi was shocked by Uchiha Nozomi's reaction. She didn't expect his reaction to be so intense. She tried to explain, but Uchiha Nozomi didn't give her a chance. "Why are you doing this? What right do you have to investigate my past?" Uchiha Wang's voice was filled with a hint of despair and sadness. The others watched silently. They didn't know how to face Uchiha Wang's anger. They originally just wanted to help him, but now it seems that they did the wrong thing. Hoshino-ki sighed softly, trying to calm Uchiha Nozomi down. "Wang, we don't want to hurt you. We just want to understand you and help you. We know you have been through a lot of pain, and we want to help you out of the shadow." Xing'ai Feng's voice was full of concern. Uchiha Wang's emotions calmed down a little, but his eyes were still full of hostility. "You don't know me at all. How can you help me? You just want to pry into my privacy and satisfy your curiosity." Uchiha Wang's voice was still cold. Hoshino-ki shook her head gently, her eyes firm and sincere. "Wang, we are your friends and we just want to help you. We know you have been through a lot of pain, but we also know that you are a strong and brave person. You don't need to bear all the pain alone. You can let us help you share it." Xing'ai Feng's voice was full of strength and encouragement. Uchiha Wang's heart moved, and he began to think about what Hinata Kazumi said. He knew that she was sincere, she was his friend, and she only wanted to help him. "Are you really willing to help me?" Uchiha Wang's voice was filled with doubt. Xing'ai Feng nodded gently, his eyes full of determination. "Of course, we are willing to help you. We are your friends and we will always support you," Hinata Kazumi said quickly, her voice full of determination. Uchiha Wang's eyes softened a little, and he began to relax his guard. He knew that he was not alone. He had a group of true friends who were willing to help him through any difficulties. "Thank you." Uchiha Wang's voice was filled with a hint of gratitude and relief. It had been a long, long time since anyone had spoken to him like this. I felt a sense of relief in my heart, and my thoughts were constantly drawn far away, returning to the happy times of my childhood. Hoshino-ki smiled, then changed the subject and spoke very seriously. "But I still want to say that your training is not standardized. This is just squeezing your potential. If you keep practicing like this, your body won't be able to handle it. Be careful of dying young." At the end, Xing'ai Feng was still in the mood to joke with him to lighten up the atmosphere. The sad atmosphere swept away. Uchiha Wang's cheeks turned red when he said that. He glared at him fiercely and said, "I know." Hearing such angry words, Izawa Akumi said angrily, "Knowing that you are still like this, I don't want your body anymore." Fang nodded seriously, with a smile on his face, and said, "Look, even Yume said so. I'm not the only one who thinks this is inappropriate." Uchiha Wang was silent for a moment, and then a muffled voice came out. "I will pay attention and won't do this again next time." Upon seeing this, the group smiled with satisfaction. Being able to make such an arrogant person admit his mistake, it seemed that he really realized his problem. "Since we are here, let's train here. You are not in a hurry to go home anyway," Ishino-Kid suggested. Everyone nodded. It doesn't matter where you train. Time passed like flowing water and night fell. The high-intensity training made them too tired to talk. After relaxing a little, everyone looked up at the stars. The clean and clear sky made the stars extremely conspicuous, and several meteors streaked across the sky, exactly 5. As the meteors drew graceful trajectories in the sky, they looked up at them, silently made their inner wishes and prayed for peace. Time flies, and in the blink of an eye it is already the 7th year of Konoha. On this day, something big happened. Boom! A loud noise that shook the earth and sky made everyone tremble in their hearts, and everyone looked into the distance. Then, come back. A tall figure stood there, his eyes filled with sadness and his tone full of pleading. It was the first Hokage of Konoha, Senju Hashirama. Opposite him was Uchiha Madara, who was known as the Shura of the ninja world. The two strongest fighters in the current ninja world are now facing each other with swords. The earth is collapsing, and the mountains and rivers are shattered. A desolate scene appeared here, as if the end of the world had come, which shows how powerful and destructive it is. We are inseparable friends. We have experienced countless battles and founded Konoha village together. Why can't we join hands again and work together for peace?" There was no expression on Ban's face, only endless indifference. His eyes were like dead water, without a single ripple. "Hashirama, you are too idealistic. Human desires will never disappear, and peace is just a luxury. Only through strength can we get true peace. I believe that only strength can create a peaceful world. Just like we did before, use absolute force to force them to make peace." He spoke each word clearly, as if he was stating the facts. But it is true that without their absolute power, the fragile peace we have today would not be possible. Hashirama felt bitter in his heart. He knew it very well, but power could not exist forever, just like death was inevitable. But we can't just give up like this, even if there's only a glimmer of hope. His voice was firm and his eyes were bright and unshakable, which was what he had been striving for till now. Madara shook his head slightly. Obviously, neither of them could convince the other, so he decided to use strength to speak. A majestic aura unfolded instantly, and several cracks covered the ground. Madara's eyes gradually became cold, and the meaning was self-evident. Hashirama took a deep breath, closed his eyes sadly, and then opened them again suddenly. "Madara, I won't let you succeed. I will use my life to protect Konoha village and maintain peace." The corners of Madara's mouth slightly raised, and a hint of mockery flashed in his eyes. "Hashirama, you are still so naive, so hopeless." His voice was full of disdain and sarcasm, as if Hashirama's determination was just a stupid act in his eyes. After saying this, a chilling aura enveloped the entire place. His eyes spun rapidly, and his pupils turned scarlet. This is the Uchiha clan's Sharingan, which possesses great power. Facing Uchiha Madara, Senju Hashirama did not dare to slack off at all. He clasped his hands together and instantly entered the Sage mode. Chapter 25 Ending, Hidden Shura. In Sage mode, Hashirama exudes powerful chakra fluctuations, and his eyes become more determined. He knew that this battle was related to the future of Konoha village and the peace of the entire ninja world. He must give it his all and not retreat at all. Uchiha Madara did not dare to be careless when he saw Hashirama enter the sage mode. The power of the pupils exploded in an instant, and a cold aura swept across the entire place. A huge skeleton was formed suddenly, like a giant towering over the sky, looking down from above. The huge size is terrifying, and ordinary ninjas don't have any desire to resist. This is the third power of the main Jikaiyo Sharingan, known as the power of God. When Hashirama saw Uchiha Madara use Susanoo, he did not show any weakness. He clapped his hands and shouted, "Immortal technique. True thousand hands." Ah! Chakra continued to vent, and the height of the Buddha suddenly rose to over 1,000 meters. Hashirama stood on the Buddha's head, looking down at him, and even Susanoo seemed so insignificant. The fighting spirit burned in Uchiha Madara's chest, and his pupil power was released endlessly and injected into his skeleton. Like a swelling, the illusory figure seemed to be turning into substance, like a real person. Two heart-pounding auras were silently confronting each other, and the pressure made the legs of the ninjas who had just arrived from afar tremble. So scary. Is this the power of God? Some ninjas who had never seen such a big scene could not help but mutter to themselves. This shocking scene impacted his mind, and he was in a trance for a moment. Tobirama frowned, his palms were sweating, and he was extremely nervous. I prayed silently in my heart, "Brother, you must win. Hiruzen, see this. This is the ultimate showdown among ninjas." Danzo's eyes were fiery and his pupils were flickering, as if he was immersed in it and couldn't extricate himself. Saruto by Hiruzen was in a daze and could not speak for a long time. Not to mention Udain Koharu and Mitokado En, whose strength is far inferior to his. Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara stood facing each other. The surrounding chakra fluctuations distorted the space, foreshadowing that an earth-shattering battle was about to break out. The giant Buddha and the skeleton are facing each other from afar, competing against each other, and no one knows who will win or lose. Suddenly, Uchiha Madara took the first action. He laughed wildly, bit his fingers, and quickly formed seals. A pitch-black spell emerged, and a dark shadow appeared that blocked out the sky. Hashirama's eyes fixed this amount of chakra roar. The smoke and dust dissipated, revealing the true appearance. As expected, Hashirama said inwardly, "9 tails." Dark and evil chakra filled the space, and 9 huge tails were constantly flying. The corners of Uchiha Madara's mouth rose slightly, and then his mind moved, and Susanoo was directly cast on the 9 tails. Let the already impressive momentum be taken to a higher level. "Hashirama, let's have a showdown." Uchiha Madara rushed towards him with a wild laugh. He was full of confidence, and it seemed as if the whole world was in his hands. Hashirama naturally would not retreat and rushed forward. The two top forces in the ninja world collided, and the shock waves shattered the mountains and cracked the earth. The ninja in the distance was thrown to the ground and couldn't move. Even a powerful figure like Tobirama, who was at the peak of Kage-level, was still overwhelmed and unable to breathe. It was an indescribable terrifying force, as if the whole world was trembling with it. The roar continued, like thunder. The peerless power erupted wantonly, ravaging all living things. The battle between Hashirama and Madara entered a fierce stage. Their figures flickered in the light and shadow, interweaving like ghosts. Both of them tried their best, and neither of them held back. Their eyes met, burning with endless fighting spirit, as if they were the only ones left in the world. After another round of fighting, the ground was sunken by their attacks, forming a bottomless canyon. The canyon was filled with smoke and rubble, like scars on the earth. This earth-shattering battle caused them all to suffer considerable damage. The previous big moves can no longer be used, and only simple ninjutsu and taijutsu can be used. But with their strength, even at ordinary levels, it is still unattainable. Kunai collided with each other, sparks flew, and there was even the sound of detonating talismans. Their movements were getting faster and faster, like the breeze in the sky, making it impossible to see their figures clearly. Finally, after a long and intense battle, the physical fatigue allowed Hashirama to seize a flaw in Madara. Just a hint was enough to be fatal. With a flash of light, Hashirama's iron kunai pierced through his chest. The bright red blood immediately stained his clothes, and there was a hint of disbelief in Uchiha Madara's eyes. It seemed as if such a ridiculous way of dying was impossible. But the fact is irrefutable. Even a strong person will have a moment of relaxation. What determines victory or defeat is often that insignificant detail. The light in Uchiha Madara's eyes suddenly dimmed, and he fell heavily backwards. Hashirama stood in front of him with an expressionless face, wondering what he was thinking. Boom! Dark clouds covered the sky, and a flash of lightning streaked across the sky. The next moment, raindrops fell from the sky and hit the two of them. Hashirama's eyes were reminiscing, his thoughts flying far away, as if he had returned to the scene when they first met. The scene changed, and the two tribes were fighting for a long time, with countless casualties. Then, the two of them worked together to establish Konoha. To this day, the sword is used against each other. Sadness seemed insufficient to describe the scene at this moment. Hashirama was silent for a long time, lost in thought. The layers of dark clouds in the sky seemed to reflect his mood at the moment. After a while, her sad eyes moved away from his body, looked somewhere, and the corners of her mouth rose slightly. "Come out." The next second, as his words fell, ripples appeared in the space in front of him, as if a stone was thrown into a calm lake. The figure of Zingai Fang slowly appeared with an awkward smile on his face. "Teacher, hey, what a coincidence." Hashirama raised his eyebrows, then threw a heavy punch, causing Hinokid to suddenly have stars in his eyes. "Good boy, you almost fooled me. You are really good at hiding." Zingai Fang chuckled, rubbed the back of his head, and said, "Thank you for the compliment. It's still a little short of perfection." He seemed like the type who would shine brightly with a little sunshine, but Hashirama just shook his head and laughed, and said nothing more. Seeing this, Hinokid looked at Uchiha Madara's corpse. His eyes flashed with light and then disappeared. At this time, Hashirama said, "It's time to go." After that, he used his remaining chakra to make a coffin. Then sink it into the earth. Hashirama took Kid Hashino's hand and slowly left. As for the nine tails, after it woke up, it was pinned down by the wood release. Its tragic fate was about to begin to turn. Feng Xingai lowered his head, silently thinking about the corpse just now. One thing was confirmed. It was just an empty shell and not Uchiha Madara's body. I guess he took advantage of Hashirama's distraction and sadness and used Izanagi to run away. He did not remind Hashirama, and even if he had, there was nothing he could do at the moment. Before he arrived, Uchiha Madara had already left, and his aura had already disappeared thousands of miles away. Finding it now is like looking for a needle in a haystack, which is extremely difficult. Chapter 26, White Fang as Brother. The huge battle was over, and Hashirama walked to the village gate with heavy steps. Tobirama and many ninjas were waiting there. "Brother." Tobirama saw Hashirama and hurried forward. "Huh, I'm fine." Hashirama saw the huge crowd and forced a smile. Then he saw the nervous expressions of the Uchiha clan and suddenly said, "This matter has nothing to do with Uchiha. It is Madara's personal behavior." Hashirama's explanation relaxed Uchiha's tense mood. The current Uchiha clan leader, Sora, couldn't help but be moved. The former clan leader's defection had made all the Uchiha people worried, afraid of being implicated and being held accountable later. Now, with the promise from the Hokage, at least the clan has been saved. As for what others think, Uchiha never cares about other people's faces. When Tobirama heard this, his brows immediately frowned and he wanted to say something, but was dissuaded by Hashirama's eyes. Finally, I sighed inwardly. "Xiao Feng, you go back first." Hashirama touched his head and said. Hashino Feng nodded, and under the gazes of everyone with unclear expressions, he slowly left. He knew that since he was sent away, there must be a lot of things to discuss, but the teacher didn't seem to want him to get involved. But he didn't care. That wasn't his focus right now. In 2 years, Kid Hashino's improvement was like a rocket, which even Hashirama was amazed at. The only thing left was to slice her up for further research. The clarity of the dial scale in my mind has also reached 1/3. His chakra also surged to the level of Kage, and he became more and more adept at controlling time. Being able to pause time in a large area for half an hour is extremely terrifying. The most important thing is that he developed a series of time-related ninjutsu based on his own situation. It's just like when Hashirama awakened would release and developed his own ninjutsu. However, the degree of difficulty is very different, and only a few have been developed in 2 years. There is still a long way to go before it becomes a system, but we can take our time and there is no need to rush. By the way, he has already graduated from the academy, so there is really nothing left for him to learn. After all, he had almost learned all the ninjutsu in the Book of Seals, so what could a school teach him? But the others are still learning, but their strength has improved by leaps and bounds and they have widened the gap far. After all, they train frequently. At present, Kid Hashino's overall strength is probably at the elite Jonin level, which is still a little short of the Kage level. Better than the best, but not as good as the worst. This was already extremely terrifying in Hashirama's eyes. There was no such elite Jonin at the age of 7 in the entire ninja world. What was he doing when he was 7? But Fang Hashino was not satisfied. According to his prediction, it should be able to reach the level of Kage, but it was just a little bit short. Xingai Fang was walking on the road, kicking stones and walking with a depressed look on his face. Xiao Feng, what a coincidence, are you shopping? Fang Hashino, who was walking forward with his head down, couldn't help but look up when he heard a familiar voice. Uncle Isshin, beautiful stewardess. The two people in front of him are Haddock Isshin and his wife Haddock Misora. You look very depressed. Did something happen? Yixin saw his depressed little face from a distance. Hashino Kid sighed deeply, like a little old man, and Misora covered her mouth to hold back her laughter. It's nothing, I just encountered a bottleneck and I can't break through it no matter what I do. Xingai Fang said truthfully, with nothing to hide. I have been practicing swordsmanship with him over the years, so we naturally have a good relationship. If I tell him about it, maybe I can find a solution. Bottleneck. Yixin was a little confused, then he asked tentatively, are you going to break through to the Kage level? After the establishment of Konoha village, the division of ninja strength gradually became clear, which was determined by Tabarama Senju himself. I guess so. Xingai Feng was a little hesitant. He just felt that the stronger the better. Uncle Yizin has observed countless people, and when he saw his expression he knew that he was not telling the truth, so he said meaningfully, there's nothing wrong with pursuing great strength, but if you're obsessed with it, it will become an obstacle for you. It's the same with sword training and ninja training. You need to calm down and practice for a while. This reminder made Xingai Feng suddenly feel cheerful. Improving strength does not happen overnight, it requires a gradual process. Even if you have great talent, it still takes time to realize it. Thank you, Uncle Isshin, I understand. Ishino Feng took a deep breath, as if a heavy burden had disappeared, and he revealed a relieved smile. Seeing this, Haddock Isshin touched his head and praised him generously. Good boy, you adjusted yourself so quickly. Hee hee. The compliments from acquaintances are still very useful. At this time, Hashino Feng's expression paused and he looked at the beautiful stewardess, or to be more precise, at her belly. A small life is growing there. Feeling the gaze of Hashino Kid, Uncle Isshin slapped his head and said boastfully, Look at my brain, I almost forgot to mention that your beautiful stewardess is pregnant. Xingai Feng smiled helplessly, then thought deeply. This should be Konoha White Fang. Soon, familiar faces from memory will pop up one after another, and the ninja world is about to become lively. By the way, Xiao Fang, do you want to recognize a younger brother? Uncle Yixin said a little embarrassedly, and a little nervous at the same time. After all, in terms of identity, Xing'ai Feng can be said to be unique. Even people who get along well with each other often can still feel a little reserved. Xing'ai Feng was stunned when he heard this, but he quickly reacted and nodded decisively. Brother, then I will respectfully obey your command. Being able to be White Fang's elder brother in the future, wow, it's interesting just to think about it. In this case, what will Kakashi call me in the future? Thinking of this, a glimmer of anticipation flashed in Xing'ai Feng's eyes. After communicating for a while, Xing'ai Feng walked on the street happily. 2 years passed. Konoha became more prosperous, various policies were gradually improved, and the staff was also strengthened. If it continues to develop in this way, it will prosper in the future. But unfortunately, there is no if. According to the original historical development, Konoha will become worse and worse with each generation. However, these are still far away at the moment. With the butterfly of Hoshino-Kid, it is not known whether things will change in the future. Feng Hoshino was walking on the road, looking around from time to time. To be honest, he had been immersed in training, but had never understood Konoha. Just as he decided to take a stroll, the person he least wanted to see walked straight towards him. Lord Tobirama. Although Hoshino-Kid didn't like it, he was still polite. Tobirama still had a stern expression, as if he had no facial paralysis. Without saying anything, he just threw a scroll at him. What is this? Ishino Feng opened it and took a look. His eyes suddenly fixed and he looked at Tobirama in confusion. I mean, I want you to see another side of the ninja world. After saying that, without waiting for Xing'ai Feng to ask any more questions, he left in an instant. Feng Xing'ai had no choice but to read the contents of the scroll carefully, and then turned around without saying a word. Cold sweat broke out on the palms of his hands, apparently because of the contents of the scroll. Somewhere on the roof, Hashirama and Tobirama stood side by side. Tobirama, is this okay? He's only 7. Brother, he is your disciple, you have to trust him. This is something he will have to face eventually. A simple conversation reveals 2 different viewpoints. Chapter 27 Blood, Massacre, Disgust. Outside the village, after registering at the gate, Feng Xing'ai came alone to a place far away from the village. According to the contents of the scroll given by Tobirama, this time he wanted to deal with the bandits entrenched in the surrounding area. Ishino-Kid silently recalled the information about the mission. There are 7 gangs of bandits in total, all hiding in the deep mountains and forests, among which there are ninjas. However, their strength is not high. There are only a few jonin, and most of them are cannon fodder. They have been very active recently, robbing many caravans. With his ability, there is no problem at all. It can be said that this is just a very simple task. But there are many factors that determine life and death, and Xing'ai Feng has never been stained with blood in either this life or his previous life. The psychological pressure on him to reap one life after another is undoubtedly enormous, even if those people deserve to die. But life is priceless and there is no distinction between good and evil. Lord Tobirama is really good at creating difficult problems. I guess he has a plan in advance. Hoshino-Kid sighed deeply. This stage will eventually come. The ninja world is not a utopia. Bloodshed is necessary. Bandits would set up their bases in the mountains. The terrain brought great advantages, and ninjas would fall into their trap if they were not careful. Plus, the presence of wandering ninjas made it easy to defend, but difficult to attack. However, these were not difficult for Feng Xing'ai. He relaxed his mind and a scanning wave slowly unfolded. All the terrain is imprinted in his mind. The perception ability of the Eye of Time is no joke. The exploration range can easily reach thousands of miles, and this is not the maximum limit. It can still grow. All the defenses were in vain, but Xing'ai Feng was very patient. They waited until night fell and darkness enveloped the earth before they crouched and slowly approached the bandits' stronghold. Ahaha, boss, this order is too lucrative, enough for the brothers to eat for a year. A sturdy man was drinking wine and eating meat, looking very comfortable. Hundreds of other bandits echoed the sentiment, spouting nice words. Of course, some of it was sincere. After all, they live here, eat meat every day and live a very comfortable life. They are very satisfied with this kind of life. Mito frowned and showed no joy at their compliments. Instead, he looked worried. A discerning younger brother asked quietly, "Boss, is there something bothering you?" Mito nodded silently, staring at the roaring bonfire, and said worriedly, "I'm not worried about the caravan being robbed. I'm worried about Konoha sending people to round them up. Although my strength barely reaches that of a Jonin, I am still stretched to my limits when facing Konoha." His subordinates said that he was worrying too much. "Hey, boss, Konoha is a bit far from us. They won't bother coming here, so don't worry." Mito sighed again, but after hearing what his subordinates said, his expression eased a lot. "Maybe." Then he looked up and looked around, his expression paused and suddenly became serious. "What's going on? Why is it so quiet around here?" After hearing what the boss said, the younger brothers fell silent and looked around. "Hey, why hasn't Matsuda come back yet?" A younger brother touched the back of his head and said in confusion. Just as Mita Jinglong was about to speak, the sound of light footsteps suddenly rang out, which was particularly obvious in the quiet night. "Who?" he shouted, staring at the darkness ahead with a wary look. Xing'ai Feng walked forward slowly, his face stained with blood, hiding his handsome little face. "Child." Mita frowned, but clenched the kunai in his hand. How could a child appear here? There is obviously something wrong. But not everyone thinks like him. After being stunned for a while, some of the younger brothers suddenly breathed a sigh of relief and then burst into laughter. "Little boy, you actually dare to come here alone. You are very brave." There was contempt and sarcasm in that laughter. Xing'ai Feng smiled without saying anything, and his eyes gradually turned cold. Then he disappeared in a flash, and the next second the cold kunai cut a man's throat. Blood gushed out and he fell down, holding his neck. There was silence, then chaos, and people spoke in fear. Ninja. He is actually a ninja. To these ordinary people, ninjas are invincible. Mita took a deep breath and looked at the child in front of him with fear. The speed just now has already said a lot. He is no match. "I'm here to help you get rid of the trouble." Xing'ai Feng was murderous. Dozens of lives had been taken on his hands. And now, it's just the beginning. After saying that, Ashinoki's figure teleported to their side like a ghost, and the kunai in his hand reaped the lives of the sinners one by one. 1 to 10 in just a blink of an eye, several lives were lost in his hands. The bandits were immediately frightened and scattered in all directions with terrified looks on their faces, trying to escape. But Xing'ai Feng would not give this opportunity. He quickly formed a seal with one hand, and bursts of white smoke dissipated. Dozens of Hashino Fang scattered around, chasing after the fleeing bandits. For a moment, Mita was the only one left in the stronghold. Mita thought he had killed countless people, but in front of him, it was like heaven and earth between them. The heavy life seemed as light as a feather in his hands. Those eyes were like those of a demon, without any emotion and extremely indifferent. In front of him, he lost all will to resist, and fear filled his heart. Ashino Feng remained silent and walked towards him step by step without hesitation. There was a flash of white light before my eyes, and a kunai scratched my neck, causing blood to spurt out like a fountain. The light in Mita Jinglong's eyes gradually dimmed, and he fell silent. At the same time, the shadow clones also completed their harvests. Hundreds of lives were lost in the entire village, and no one survived. And this is just the beginning. The dark night gradually faded away, and a faint red glow began to appear on the skyline. Soon, a bright sun gradually rose, radiating light and looking magnificent. Massacre. After a night of massacre, Fang was like a killing machine, only mechanically dropping the knife in his hand. Finally, after completing the last bandit's stronghold, Hinhabit half knelt on the ground with the blood-stained ninja sword inserted into the ground. He was filled with a strong and bloody aura, and the strong smell enveloped him, making people feel terrified. The golden light shone on his face, and a feeling of warmth rose in his heart. The bloodthirsty eyes gradually faded away, and Fang raised his hand, gradually beginning to tremble. The pungent smell hit his brain, and his stomach gradually reacted and he vomited violently. Killing someone. I don't want to experience this feeling again. Fang wiped the corner of his mouth and suddenly said, "This feeling of being dominated is disgusting." After a short rest and replenishing some strength, he looked at the corpses on the ground and left in silence. After he walked away, two figures appeared out of nowhere. They were Hashirama and Tobirama. Hashirama said angrily, "I've said it before, don't bring the past into the present, times have changed." Tobirama was silent for a moment, then said with a firm look in his eyes, "This is something that must be experienced." He doesn't think there's anything wrong with what he did. Hashirama looked at the staggering Hinhabit and said sadly, "You still don't understand, Tobirama. That child is different from us. Besides, you expect too much from him." After that, he left without looking back. Tobirama stopped for a long time, looked at Hinhabit deeply, and then left instantly. Chapter 28, Educational Reform, Ninja School. All the bandits together numbered over 1,000, and they all died at the hands of Fang. His clothes were all covered with blood stains. He walked along in silence with a dazed look in his eyes. When they reached the entrance of the village, the guards were all shocked. Their bodies were soaked in blood, and the pungent smell went straight to their heads. Even though they were experienced in battle, they couldn't help but feel frightened. Their eyes filled with fear, and they took a step back inconspicuously. Fang ignored him and walked mechanically and aimlessly. Even though the blood had coagulated and was firmly attached to the skin, it still moved forward in confusion. I didn't know how long I walked until I arrived at my doorstep unconsciously. Sakura Kinomoto was taking care of flowers in the yard. She saw Kid Hashino with messy clothes out of the corner of her eye and was stunned for a moment. The spray bottle in his hand also slipped to the ground without him noticing it at all. Xiao Fang? Sakura Kinomoto covered her face with her hands, a look of disbelief in her eyes. The next moment, she hugged Fang in her arms like a bowstring. Hinhabit was like a puppet, with lifeless eyes and not saying a word. "Are you killing someone?" Sakura Kinomoto was once a ninja, and this pungent smell was very familiar to her. But what surprised her was not this. She was covered in blood, large and small stains stuck to her clothes, which had already dried. At this level, it's not as simple as killing a few people. Hurry, change your clothes first. Are you hurt? Sakura Kinomoto realized something was wrong, but still pulled Kid Hashino to take a shower. The blood-stained clothes were stripped off completely. Under normal circumstances, Fang would definitely be shy and provest. But now he seemed to be out of his body. He didn't say a word, but lowered his head as if thinking about something. Sakura Kinomoto found a set of clean clothes and then helped him wash his body, just like when they were children. In the face of such meticulous care, a gleam of light gradually appeared in Fang's eyes, and he spoke softly. "I hate killing people." Sakura Kinomoto was slightly stunned, then smiled as if promising something. "Okay, it's up to you. No matter how strong he is or how high his status is, he is just a child now, her child." After a brief exchange, there was a long silence. After washing, Kid Hashino's face was slightly red, like a shy flower bud, and her eyelashes were long with water droplets on them, which looked particularly contradictory with her lifeless eyes. Ishino Fang quietly put on his clothes and sat down on the sofa with his mother. Xiao Feng, what happened? Sakura Kinomoto asked seriously. She was rarely seen like this. Xing'ai Feng raised his head. His pair of deep eyes were like a whirlpool, absorbing everything. He opened his mouth slightly and was about to speak when he heard a knock on the door. Sakura Kinomoto got up to open the door, and Hashirama's figure appeared in front of her. Hokage-sama. Sakura Kinomoto greeted indifferently, her tone full of indifference. Hashirama was embarrassed when he heard this and scratched his head and asked, "Is Xiao Feng here?" "He's in a very bad state and needs to calm down. I think I need to understand some things." Sakura Kinomoto made way to let Hashirama in. The first thing Hashirama saw was Kid Hashino sitting on the sofa with his head down, looking listless. "Xiao Feng, go upstairs first. I have something to talk to the Hokage," Sakura Kinomoto said. Ishino Kid nodded in response and went back to her room silently without even glancing at Hashirama. Hashirama's expression was extremely ugly, of course not towards his disciple, but towards his younger brother Tobirama. Anyone can see that Xing'ai Feng's mental state is not right. "Why are you in a hurry now? What were you doing before?" Sakura Kinomoto said sarcastically. Hashirama opened his mouth, but couldn't say anything, so he could only respond with silence. "I think as his mother, I am entitled to know the truth of the matter." Sakura Kinomoto looked at Hashirama with sharp eyes and spoke word by word, leaving him no room to shirk responsibility. Facing the sharp gaze, Hashirama felt pressured. He was actually afraid of the powerful aura of a mother. Hashirama nodded hurriedly, then told the whole story with a guilty look on his face. After hearing the whole story, Sakura Kinomoto was so angry that she was shaking all over, like she was sieving chaff. She said angrily, "Master Hashirama, you are Xiao Feng's teacher. Master Tobirama did this, and you didn't stop him. Don't you know what the consequences of doing this will be, Lord Tobirama?" The questioning became louder and louder, making Hashirama want to crawl into the ground. "He's just a child born after peace." Sakura Kinomoto's voice was trembling as she stated a fact. Hashirama felt remorseful, but what had happened was irreversible. "I'm very sorry. It's my fault as a teacher." Sakura Kinomoto sneered when she heard this, but didn't want to say a word. At this time, Xing'ai Feng came out and said, "This has nothing to do with the teacher. I was just being stubborn." He heard everything. He deeply felt his mother's tough attitude and the teacher's inner regret. He didn't blame anyone but himself for not being strong enough. He overestimated his ability to endure, thinking that if he lived longer, he would be able to endure more. It can be a rich experience, but it can also become a burden in other ways. He thought too much and too complicatedly, and his thoughts were churning like waves. Killing is common in the ninja world, but the problem is that Hashino Kid lived in a happy country in her previous life. No war, no hunger. The stable and peaceful environment shaped his previous mentality, thinking that it was nothing special. But when he really started to do it, he found himself trembling and afraid. He overestimated himself. Ishino Kid's words made both of them silent. Hashirama felt even more guilty. He felt that he was a failure as a teacher. It didn't play any role at all. Everything was achieved by Xing'ai Feng's own hard work. Looking at Hashirama, who was lost in self-blame, Ishino Kid walked forward and chuckled. "Teacher, has anyone ever told you that you are too gentle and always complain about yourself?" Hashirama was stunned by what he said, and then his face turned red. He wondered how Xiao Feng knew that. Did Tobirama tell him? This look of surprise made Hashino Kid smile. "Ahem, are you okay?" Hashirama abruptly changed the subject. Xing'ai Feng also followed his lead and shrugged. "Of course, my mood is a little volatile. I think I need to adjust myself." That's good, that's good. Hashirama's heart finally settled down. If anything happened to his disciple, he would feel guilty for the rest of his life. Tobirama has gone too far this time, Hashirama then said with a serious face. Although the intention is good, it is not practical. Hishinokid nodded in approval. Teacher, times are different now. Children born in Konoha are fundamentally different from those in the past. The training methods during the Warring States period are already outdated. Hashirama nodded solemnly, but then became worried. But the solution cannot be found in a short time. Hishinokid smiled slightly, a gleam in his eyes, and whispered in Hashirama's ear. The more Hashirama listened, the brighter his eyes became, and in the end he just hugged him in his arms and rubbed him again and again. Xiao Fang, you are such a genius. Hishinokid smiled but said nothing. After all, this was the ninja school in Naruto, and it had already withstood the test. Seeing that the two were chatting happily and completely forgot that there was someone else around, Sakura Kinomoto suddenly frowned, grabbed Kid Hashino's ear, and kept muttering in her ear. Let's stop talking about this. You better get some rest. Then, regardless of what Xing'ai Feng had to say, he was told to go back to his room. Seeing this, Hashirama smiled awkwardly and then said, Then I'll be leaving first. By the way, I'll ask Tobirama to come over and apologize. After all, this was his idea. Sakura Kinomoto nodded slightly to show her agreement. Afterwards, Hashirama didn't want to disturb him any further, so he left. All irrelevant people left the scene, and Sakura Kinomoto breathed a sigh of relief, looking frightened. God knows how she had the courage to treat Hokage like this just now. Chapter 29, Spirit of the Weapon. Sigh. Feng Xing'ai lay on the bed, his arms resting on his forehead, his eyes slightly narrowed, recalling the details of when his mind was out of control. The cold, biting feeling made him tremble, as if he had lost himself, and everything was dark before his eyes. Everything is done according to instinct, without any opinion of one's own. Ha, human life is like an ant. This is not an adjective here. Xing'ai Feng, you have to adapt to it. Ishino Feng murmured to himself and gradually fell asleep. Tick tick tick. Feng Xing'ai's consciousness entered his mind again, and a slight sound came from the clock in front of him. He walked to the clock, sat cross-legged, and looked up. Life is so fragile, why do people still try to survive? Flowers bloom and fade, in the end it's just a cycle. Is death so scary? He recalled the bandit who fell under his knife, and the look of fear and terror on his face before death was deeply engraved in his mind. The voice of Xing'ai Feng gradually grew louder and louder, filling the space, as if seeking answers from this endless darkness. He thought no one would respond, but suddenly a snapping sound caught his attention. Then, a distant and ethereal voice seemed to respond. Xing'ai Feng suddenly widened his eyes, with expectation and confusion in his eyes. Life is long, but also short. Mayflies are born in the morning and die in the evening, but they still have love in their hearts. All things in the world are ultimately unable to withstand the erosion of time, and death is the final destination. Before Xing'ai Feng could understand what he meant, a figure in a black robe suddenly appeared in front of him. Who are you? Xing'ai Feng said in surprise, looking alert. The black-robed man's voice was extremely disembodied, and it was hard to tell whether it was a man or a woman. I am the spirit of this clock. Item spirit. I was injured in the battle, and I have been cultivating my divine light. The black-robed man explained. You woke me up. Xing'ai Feng pointed at himself. Me. But I didn't do anything. The man in black robe shook his head and said, You don't need to do anything. As long as you survive, I can absorb time to repair myself. Ishino Feng smacked his lips in amazement. This ability was simply unsolvable. He could recover just by surviving. Even cheating was impossible. After hesitating for a while, Xing'ai Feng finally asked the doubts in his heart. The man in black robe smiled slightly, then slowly raised his hand hidden in his robe, and the surrounding scene flowed and changed in an instant. Fang Xinghai saw many people and things as if he was walking through a fast pace. He saw the weak little grasses growing tenaciously on the steep cliffs. They were blown to and fro by the strong wind, but they still tried hard to take root on the cliffs, desperately absorbing the sunlight and rain. He had seen a mother who was seriously injured by a predator lead the enemy away and leave the hope of life to her children. The mother's body was covered in blood, but she still ran towards the distance with determination. Her child was crying behind her, but she used her last bit of strength to push the child out of the danger zone. And watch time pass quickly, life and destruction constantly exchange and interweave. During these long years, he witnessed the birth and death of countless lives, the rise and fall of civilizations, and the evolution and changes of the universe. Just when Xinghai Fang was deeply trapped in it, the man in black robe raised his hand and waved, and the scene disappeared in an instant. Xinghai Fang took a deep breath. He seemed to have experienced thousands of years of time. He saw a lot and felt a lot. He thanked with a relieved smile and very relaxed. The black-robed man said with relief, "You have a good understanding. Even without me, you will get out of it quickly." Ishino Fang scratched his head and then asked its name. "Me. Just call me Zai." Zai opened his lips slightly, and his voice was extremely ethereal and soothing. Ishino nodded. "I will be asleep again soon, and hopefully we will see each other again." After saying the last sentence, Zai's figure gradually disappeared and returned to the clock. Ishino Fang's consciousness returned to his body, his eyes slowly opened, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. The knot in my heart was untied and my body felt extremely relaxed. Have I slept for so long? Fang Xinghai looked out the window. The night sky outside was dotted with stars. There was a click outside the door. Kinomoto Sakura was startled for a moment, then smiled and said, "Are you awake? Come down and eat." Ishino nodded happily and went downstairs quickly. Konoha has been under martial law recently. After Uchiha Madara left, the level of alertness in the village has obviously been raised to a higher level. Many ninjas were drafted, including Yuta, and they returned home very late. For a while, there were only 2 people in the house. Kinomoto Sakura was eating her dinner leisurely and said to Hoshino "After you fell asleep, Tabarama-sama came over to apologize." Hoshino Fang paused while eating, then returned to normal. Seeing how calm he acted, Sakura Kinomoto couldn't help but become worried. She was afraid that the child would keep things to himself, which was not good. Xinghai Fang saw her worry and said with a smile, "I'm fine, I've let it go." After hearing this, Sakura Kinomoto felt relieved and kept picking up food for him, piling up the bowl high. The corner of Xinghai Fang's mouth twitched and he said speechlessly, "Mom, I'm full." "No, you have to finish it. Look how thin you are." Sakura Kinomoto shook her head to refuse, and Hoshino couldn't refuse, so she could only eat in small bites. Just as he was thinking about how to get away, there was a knock on the door. Xinghai Fang's eyes lit up. In his perception, that was someone close to the teacher. Now he could run away. As expected, Kinomoto Sakura complained, "I came to you at a really bad time." In response, Xinghai Fang laughed dryly twice, then quickly walked out the door. "Hokage-sama is calling you over," the man said respectfully with his head bowed. They were loyal to the Hokage and naturally respectful to his disciples. Xinghai Fang corrected them many times, but it was of no use, so he had no choice but to let them be. "I know, I'll go right away." After the message was delivered, the person left instantly. Ishino talked to her mother, then activated Flying Thunder God and teleported directly outside the Hokage building. Ishino did not delay and went straight to the Hokage's office. It was already late at night, but the office was still brightly lit. Ishino Fang knocked on the door and went in after getting permission. There were very few people inside, except for the two people who were there unshakable. What surprised Xing'ai Fang was that his master's wife was also there. Hashirama Senju's wife Uzumaki Mito is also the master's wife of Kid Hashino. Born into the Uzumaki clan, he is skilled in sealing techniques and is a master of sealing in the ninja world. "Hello, master's wife," Xing'ai Fen called out sweetly, and his eyes turned, with a smile on his face that he could hardly hold back. I saw that Tobirama's face was bruised and swollen, with blue and purple patches all over, just like a pig's head. Cough, 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 cough. Hashino Kid coughed repeatedly, trying his best to cover it up. The corners of Tobirama's mouth twitched wildly and his expression looked extremely ugly. Couldn't he see that this was something that was only making things more obvious when it was covered up? Just when he was about to lose his temper, Mito at the side looked at him with a smile and forced him to calm down. There was no way. He knew Mito's temper. Didn't he see how the wound on his face came about? "Teacher, is there something you want me to do?" Hashino Feng looked away, ignoring Tobirama, who had a dark face but did not dare to get angry. Chapter 30, Nine-Tailed Jinchūriki Uzumaki Mito. When asked by his disciple, Hashirama coughed lightly a few times and then became serious. "I discussed the ninja school you talked to me about before with Tobirama, and we think it's a good idea. I called you here to see if you have any opinions." As he said that, he handed him a piece of paper. Xing'ai Feng took a look and couldn't help but admire that these frameworks were built very perfectly. You can tell at first glance that it was the work of Tobirama Senju. One has to admit that his vision and wisdom are unique. "No problem, this is already perfect." Every profession has its own expertise, and he simply offered his own suggestions based on his knowledge from his previous life and his insights into the Hokage. If you really look into it, he is not as good as Tobirama. After all, he is not cut out for it. If that's the case, then that's it. Hashirama smiled and said with great anticipation, "From now on, things will get lively. Once the ninja school is implemented, it will have a huge impact on the ninja clan. The number of civilians is like a bottomless ocean, and the talents among them are no worse than those of the ninja clan. All they lack is a stage, a place to learn. And the ninja school provides such a place. The children of families and the children of common people compete with each other and make progress together." Hashirama can already foresee what kind of sparks will be created in the future. In Konoha village, civilians have already taken to the stage. Uzumaki Mito smiled sweetly and gracefully, and naturally understood the profound meaning of what Hashirama said. Yes, the future civilians of Konoha village will eventually shine with their own brilliance. Tobirama on the side also nodded in agreement. Among the three of them, he had a slightly different opinion on civilians. He believed that the rise of civilians could suppress the ninja clan and play a positive role. For Konoha village, it is a shot in the arm that can promote the growth of this towering tree. After finishing this topic, Hashirama turned his gaze and fell on Hashino Kid again. He hesitated for a moment, then spoke. "Xiao Feng, what do you want to do in the future? Or your dream?" When asked this question, all eyes were instantly focused on him, and Senju Tobirama's eyes were burning, as if he was expecting some answer. Uzumaki Mito is relatively more Buddhist, and Xiao Feng's future will be better than theirs. Xing'ai Feng was stunned at first, hesitated for a while, and then walked to the window. The Hokage building is the tallest building in Konoha. At this moment, he was standing on the top, looking at the extremely conspicuous avatar not far away. That is the rock statue of Hashirama Senju, and in the future more people will be carved on it. Hashino Kid didn't speak for a long time. It was extremely quiet for a while, and the people hiding outside were also dismissed by Hashirama. At this moment, there were only 4 of them. I want to make the ninja world live in peace and contentment, without war and hunger. The elderly have a place to rely on, the young have a place to take care of, the sick have access to medical care, and the homeless have a place to live. Hishinokid spoke softly, turned around and showed a longing smile. They were stunned for a moment, and it took them a long time to come back to their senses. Good, good, good. Hashirama shouted 3 times in a row, looking excited. These were not empty words. From his eyes, Hashirama could see his firm heart. Uzumaki Mito was moved by the scene he described. The woman was soft-hearted and her heart was touched, and tears welled up in her eyes. That is a very difficult dream. Just as the two were moved, the cold voice of Senju Tabarama suddenly sounded. It was like a basin of cold water poured on their burning hearts. Tabarama, could you please say something nice? Why are you so discouraging? Hashirama grumbled in dissatisfaction, feeling that these words were too hurtful. Uzumaki Mito was more realistic. He went straight into the fight and chased Tabarama to beat him. The scene was quite funny. This made Fang burst into laughter. Although being chased, Tabarama still had the energy to turn around and say, "This is the truth." Uzumaki Mito's eyes were blazing with fire, and he thought about tying him up with the diamond lock, but was stopped by Hashirama. Mito, we have other things to discuss. I'll catch up later. After mediating between the two, Hashirama immediately talked about the 9 tails. During the previous battle with Uchiha Madara, he sealed the 9 tails in the Valley of the End. It would not be a good idea to leave it like this forever. Tabarama pondered for a moment, then said seriously, "The 9 tails cannot be released, it must be controlled by Konoha. Other ninja villages have tailed beasts, so Konoha must have one too." When the tailed beasts were distributed, the 9 tails was kept for the benefit of Konoha and because of its powerful sealing technique. Well, but what should we do? Hashirama nodded. Fang was listening on the side, muttering to himself. Is he going to witness history? A Jinchūriki is about to be born. Let me do it. Use my body as a container and seal him inside me. Just when the two were in distress, Uzumaki Mito stood up and spoke. Hashirama suddenly became anxious and directly rejected her proposal. Uzumaki Mito was not angry, he just pointed out the pros and cons, saying that this was the best solution. The Kyuubi's chakra is very violent and few people can withstand it. The Uzumaki clan has a lot of chakra and knows how to seal. They are the best choice. Her words made everyone present silent. It was indeed as she said, it could only be the Uzumaki clan. Hashirama still wanted to fight for it, after all, she was his wife. As soon as he opened his mouth, he was interrupted by Mito. Hashirama, there's no need to persuade me anymore. You know we have no choice. For the sake of the village. Mito knew Hashirama's inner struggle, and in the end he said something that touched him to the heart. For the sake of the village, someone must sacrifice, and that person can only be her. At this time, Tabarama said, "Brother, sister-in-law is right, we have no choice. The power of the 9-tailed fox is too strong for anyone except those 2 perverts who can play with it at will. Otherwise it would be impossible to leave it like this. It would be a huge loss. Well, actually, I should be able to play a certain role in the sealing matter." Fang silently raised his hand, breaking the dead silence. Suddenly, his eyes fell on him. "What role can you play? Do you know the sealing technique?" Tabarama said doubtfully. "Sealing techniques are extremely rare and difficult to practice. When it comes to sealing techniques alone, Mito is undoubtedly the best. How could Hishinokid, a 7-year-old kid, master such sophisticated ninjutsu, even if he was a genius?" Hashirama seemed to be thinking, bloodline limit. Fang grinned, exactly, I can add a layer of protection to the seal. Minimize the damage to Master's wife. Hearing this, Tabarama murmured in a low voice, "Time?" When Mito heard this, he happily hugged him in his arms and rubbed him hard, making Hishinokid cry out in pain. That's good news. Accommodating the tailed beasts is not an easy task. That kind of cold chakra in the body could be a devastating disaster if anything unexpected happened. An extra layer of protection means safety for Mizuho. Chapter 31, Time Prison. The Valley of the End. Several people came here to seal the nine-tailed fox. Being pinned to the ground by the Miyajimon, the gigantic Nine-Tails was looking at Hashirama with resentment. If there is a ranking list of hatred, Hashirama Senju will definitely be on the list. It was already bad luck for him to be controlled by Uchiha Madara, and after he woke up, he was pressed here by Hashirama for no apparent reason. Nine-tailed fox, your power is too strong. This is all I can do. Hashirama stood in front of him and said seriously. I had no idea how hurtful these words were. Fang even spoke up for the nine-tailed fox. He lost his freedom and was not only sealed. How tragic it was. Hearing this, Kyuyubi's whole body was in turmoil, and its sinister aura made the earth tremble. The Nine-Tails' eyes were filled with resentment and unwillingness, and it stared at Hashirama, as if it wanted to engrave his appearance into its memory. The corners of its mouth raised slightly, revealing a mocking smile. How long do you have? Who can subdue me after you die? Its words are not groundless. No matter how strong Hashirama is, he will die one day. The tailed beasts are immortal. Even if they are killed, they can absorb chakra and be resurrected. It's just a matter of time. Facing life and death, Hashirama was very calm and he smiled heartily. So, I won't leave you any hidden dangers. If you want to resent me, then hate me. This is my idea. Kyuyubi had a bad feeling. And in the next second, Hashirama shouted loudly, and the Miyajimon that was imprisoned in the Nine-Tails restricted most of its chakra. The once mighty and powerful tailed beast was nothing more than a plaything in front of Hashirama and could be suppressed with ease. Such a huge gap in strength made Kyuyubi despair, and he could only watch himself being restricted. Okay, Hashirama said. Then, Uzumaki Mito stepped forward and dozens of chains flew out, binding the Nine-Tails and wrapping its limbs around the chains. Gua just felt like meat on the chopping board, at the mercy of others. Gossip seal. 4 symbols seal. Uzumaki Mito formed hand seals once again, and the heavy sealing techniques prevented the Nine-Tails from using any power. Roar roar. The nine-tailed fox groaned in pain. Its body was sealed by layers of seals and it couldn't move. Its eyes were filled with despair and unwillingness. Thinking back to when we were once free and powerful, we are now bound by humans and become their tools. Hashirama, you bastard! The Nine-Tails roared. The anger in his heart was like a surging sea. While the sealing was in progress, Uzumaki Mito did not have the same strong strength as Hashirama, so she felt a heavy pressure and sweat kept coming out of her forehead. The chakra contained in the complete Nine-Tails can be said to be bottomless. Fortunately, the nine-tailed fox was suppressed and could not use chakra to resist, otherwise the seal would not be so successful. The nine-tailed fox's body continued to shrink and was wrapped in layers of chains, and was dragged towards Uzumaki Mito little by little. Just as it was about to enter the body, Fang stepped forward and put a safety blanket on it. Time prison. With the blessing of the power of time, Hashinoki's chakra began to boil. It went towards the nine-tailed fox and transformed into intricate lines. These lines intertwined in the air, forming an illusory cage. The cage merged into Kyuyubi's body, causing him to fall into an endless sleep, and the flow of time slowed down. Its body went rigid and its eyelids slowly closed. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Uzumaki Mito quickly increased his speed, dragged the nine-tails into his body, and completed the seal. After the seal was completed, Uzumaki Mito and Hashinoki both breathed a sigh of relief. Finished. Hashirama supported the two men, one in each hand. Fang's face turned pale, his chakra was overdrawn a bit. This was the first time he mobilized such a large amount of time power. Using chakra as a medium, it is consumed very quickly. Uzumaki Mito felt even worse. Suddenly, another huge amount of chakra appeared in her body, and she felt as if she was overwhelmed. Fortunately, the nine-tailed fox fell into a deep sleep, otherwise it would have been another trouble. Xiao Fang, thank goodness you're here. Mito forced a smile. Most of her energy was spent on fighting the chaotic chakra in her body. Hishinokid smiled back, feeling that she hadn't done anything. At this time, Tabarama suddenly asked, "What is your technique?" Xing'ai Feng explained, "I just created a space and put the nine-tailed fox in it. The flow of time inside was slowed down by me. It should put him to sleep for a few years." Tabarama looked thoughtful, his eyes almost showing interest. This kind of ninjutsu is simply the nemesis of the tailed beasts and can subdue the tailed beasts without any soldiers. Even if it is the eldest brother's wood release, he must first suppress it and then use the sealing technique. Hashirama patted his shoulder and said, "If you have any ideas, talk to us when you get back. It's time to go." Then he helped Mito leaving behind a confused Kid Hashino. "Teacher, there's me too," Feng Xing'ai shouted immediately after reacting. Hashirama turned around and said with a smile, "Let Tabarama help you, I can't spare any time." Then he just left. Xing'ai Feng was so angry that he forgot about his disciple for the sake of beauty. How hateful. Just when he was feeling full of grievances, he felt his body lighten and Tabarama actually picked him up. Ishino-kid's brain was a little slow to react, but Tabarama didn't care about him and just used Flying Thunder God to teleport directly, simple and rough. After returning to the village, everything returned to normal. Xing'ai Feng occasionally went out of the village to complete a mission and see blood. Of course, he didn't kill people at will. Since Sai appeared, he found that he could see a person's karma and merits clearly. Relying on this ability, he acted without any scruples. Some of them look like human beings, but they are actually demons at heart. It is not a big deal to kill such people. Just like that, a year passed, and it was 8 years since I came to Konoha. In this year, Hadake Sakumo was born, but due to difficult labor, Hadake Masora died, leaving behind an orphan and a widowed father. Xing'ai Feng even shed tears for this. After all, the beautiful stewardess treated him very well, and the passing of such a person made Xing'ai Feng sad for a long time. In addition, ninja schools also began to appear on the stage of history and started to recruit students. The principal of the school is Hashirama Senju himself. The teacher is a chunin. It is worth mentioning that Kid Hashino was forced by Hashirama to stay in the school. It was the kind of teacher. Although Xing'ai Feng felt it was a bit strange, after being called in to talk for a while, he accepted it. Everything was on the right track. Konoha's education system was gradually improved, and other ninja villages followed suit. Konoha Academy was naturally disbanded, and for this purpose, Hishinokid specially and generously treated everyone to a meal. This caused his small treasury to bleed greatly, and he felt heartbroken for a long time. That day, Xing'ai Feng's depressed mood was swept away and he became more energetic. Life cannot stand still, we must look forward. Time waits for no one. Chapter 32 Caged Bird. In the early morning, the air is fresh with a hint of sweetness, and the sun rises and hangs in the sky. In a public training ground, bursts of fighting sounds were heard one after another. Ishino Feng smiled as he looked at Uchiha, who was launching fierce attacks. "Wang, you can't do this. Is it going to be like this for 3 years?" The trash talk that kept coming out of his mouth made Uchiha Wanki's hand even stronger. Uchiha Wank, who is already 10 years old, has made great progress in strength and has greatly improved in all aspects. Although he was still badly beaten in front of Kid Hashino, it was already pretty good compared to the passive beatings he received a few years ago. Ishino Feng dodged with steady steps, while Uchiha Wang's fierce attacks fell like raindrops, pressing forward step by step. Thunder escape earth walk. Uchiha Wang pressed his hands on the ground, a sharp stinging sound was heard, and a stream of lightning suddenly hit Hishinokid. Fang Hashino, whose vision was blocked by his arms, was accidentally hit, and the numb feeling made his movements much slower. Uchiha Wang's expression lit up with joy. Then he no longer held back and quickly moved closer. Opportunity. The kunai shot out, trying to buy time to get close. Uchiha Wang's mouth corners slightly raised. At this distance, and in a paralyzed state, he would be injured even if he was fast. Although Hashino-Kid seems to be in trouble, it is actually all within expectations. Haha, you still underestimate me, Zingai Fang said calmly. Uchiha Wang frowned suddenly. Since bloodline limits and forbidden techniques cannot be used, is there any other tricks up your sleeve? Wang, you seem to have forgotten that I have been learning swordsmanship from Uncle Ishin. Hashino-Kid smiled gently. Uchiha Wang suddenly remembered, then his expression changed drastically, and regardless of the exhaustion of his chakra, he formed seals with his hands while running. He took a deep breath and exhaled a fireball from his mouth. Art Fire Escape Ho Fireball. Uchiha's signature ninjutsu, but with one peculiarity: it cannot kill people. Hashino-Kid's face was reflected red by the fireball, and her eyes were calm, even though there were kunai flying towards her at a fast speed and fireball following closely behind. He held his left hand outward, and the ninja sword instantly appeared in his hand. Then he placed one hand across his chest, narrowed his eyes, and the next second he shook his wrist. A hint of blue bloomed from the knife. Sequence of time slash. Zingai Fang spoke softly, his voice as clear as a spring. Then a crescent-shaped slash was instantly launched, and the sharp slash shattered the kunai instantly. Then, it collided with Uchiha Nozomi's great fireball technique without losing momentum. The fireballs and the slashing blows merged with each other and then fell silent, as if nothing had happened. Not bad. Zingai Fang nodded with satisfaction. It was the first time to use it and the effect was very good. No more fighting, this is too much of a cheat. When Uchiha saw this, he was so angry that his face almost turned green. He sat on the ground indignantly and gave up. Hashino Fang shrugged, put away the knife, walked up to him, and said with a heartbroken expression, "Wang, I misjudged you. How can you admit defeat? Where is your fighting spirit?" Zingai Fang had a righteous look on his face, as if he was reprimanding him for escaping. The corners of Uchiha Wang's mouth twitched constantly, and his stern expression could hardly be maintained. Did people say that? He is not a fool. He knows he can't win, but he still insists on showing off. I'm afraid he is mentally ill. The resentful eyes kept staring at Zingai Fang, making him feel guilty. He quickly laughed dryly and said, "In fact, you have made great progress. I am really surprised. This is the truth that comes from the heart." Uchiha Wang curled his lips. What's the point of making great progress? I still can't even punch you. Zingai Fang raised his eyebrows and looked at him with a smile. So, you want to beat me up? Uchiha Wang suddenly realized that he had just let the cat out of the bag, and he panicked, but explained without changing his expression. Absolutely not, I swear. As he spoke, he raised one hand, but with only 4 fingers. Hashino-Kid had a look that said, "It depends on whether I believe it or not." Uchiha Wang swallowed his saliva and was in agony. You had no idea what would happen in the next second. Fortunately, Zingai Fang finally turned his head away, which made him feel relieved. Is your grandma okay? Zingai Fang asked while lying on the ground. Uchiha Wang sighed. I'm old and all the problems are coming out. If you don't have enough money, I'll lend it to you, said Zingai Fang. Uchiha Wang heard this and turned his head away proudly. Who said it's not enough? I can earn money myself. Zingai Fang shook his head helplessly. This child doesn't mean what he says. He just wants to save face. Although genin can accept missions, they cannot accept missions above B level, and the amount of money paid is pitifully small. Uchiha Nozomi's grandmother is in poor health and needs nourishment, but the money Uchiha Nozomi earns is barely enough to support her. It's up to you. If it's not enough, tell me. I still have a little stash of money. Fang knew that he couldn't be impatient. Wang had a strong sense of self-esteem, and if he gave it to him directly, he would definitely not accept it. Uchiha Wang knew very well what Hoshino-Ki's intention was, but as a friend, he didn't want to cause trouble for everyone. Besides, I am now capable of solving it, though it is a little harder. The two looked at each other in silence, and both smiled knowingly, knowing each other's feelings. Just then, Fujito Takatora hurried over, shouting anxiously, "Oh no! Oh no! Something happened to Sister Hime." The two were startled and stood up quickly and asked, "What happened?" Fujito Takatora bent over and panted. He felt a little out of breath after running all the way. He spoke after a while. "Sister Hime fainted and has been sent to the hospital." Hearing this, the two of them immediately rushed out like arrows and headed straight for the hospital. Poor Fujito Takatora, just as he calmed down for a while, he had to follow behind again. I hurried all the way to the hospital and happened to meet Senju Ayako, who was walking towards me. Hoshino-Ki stopped and asked anxiously, "Ayako-senpai, how is Hinata Kazumi?" "Little guy, you got here really quickly. The little girl is fine now, but she won't wake up for a while," Ayako said in a soothing manner. Then he looked back and forth, lowered his body and spoke in a low voice. "The caged bird curse is very damaging to the brain, and the pain is too much for most people to endure." Fang clenched his fists until his knuckles turned white. He tried hard to suppress the terrifying aura that was looming in his body, and nodded gloomily. "Thank you, Ayako-senpai." "Why thank you? It's just my duty as a doctor. I have something else to do, so I'll leave first." After saying that, Ayako rushed to the next ward for treatment. As the dean, she couldn't stop for a moment. Uchiha Wang waited until everyone left before speaking in a cold voice. "It should be the Hyuga clan that activated the curse seal." Hoshino-Ki took a deep breath and nodded. "The caged bird is a means of control that the Hyuga main family uses over the branch families, and the bird will be imprinted at the age of 3. The purpose is to control the members of the branch family, making it impossible for the branch family to resist and serve the main family. Hime is a member of the branch family. Let's go and take a look at the situation first," Fang said calmly, with the anger just now buried deep in his heart. Beneath the calm gaze, there is a turbulent undercurrent. Chapter 33, Looking for a Backer. The three of them quickly arrived at Hime's ward, where Hime's parents were also present. They were not surprised by the arrival of Fang and others. As parents, they at least understand their child's situation, not to mention that the child is of such a high status as Hoshino-Ki. Lord Hoshino, Kazumi's father, Hinata Takuya, bowed slightly and lowered his eyes respectfully. The woman standing by saw her husband doing this and also bowed respectfully. Fang had a headache. "Uncle Takuya, you don't have to call me like that. Just call me by my name." He had met Hime's parents several times, and the impression they left on him was simply this: very old-fashioned. He is very polite and will behave like this when he sees someone of higher status than himself. Maybe it's because I grew up in a separate family, and the environment shapes my character. Hinata Takuya became even more respectful upon hearing this. It was hard to imagine that a middle-aged man could be so humble as to bow to a child. Etiquette cannot be abolished. "Please don't embarrass me, Master Zingai." After repeated requests, Fang had to skip this topic and ask about Kazumi. Why is Kazumi being treated like a caged bird by the people of the Zong family? When he heard the word caged bird, Hinata Takuya's eyes flashed with a hint of resentment, but then he calmed down again. After a moment's silence, he looked at his daughter lying unconscious on the bed and spoke slowly. "Every year, the younger generation of the main family will compete with the branch family, ostensibly to enhance their relationship. In fact, it is to establish authority so that the branch families dare not resist. Everyone in the branch family knows this very well, and they will deliberately admit defeat during the competition. But that day, Hime accidentally defeated the people from the Zong family, which made the people from the Zong family look extremely unhappy. And Kazumi's opponent happens to be the grandson of the fifth elder of the clan. Being defeated by the people of the branch family in public made him angry. In anger, my rationality was completely swallowed up, and I directly activated the caged bird curse, and then it became like this. As Hinata Takuya narrated the entire story, Hoshino Kid was stunned. It is said that the people of the Hyuga family are proud and arrogant, but I didn't expect that they would become angry and humiliated after losing a competition. Uchiha Wang, who had been listening, felt it was incredible. What happened afterwards? The clan didn't distinguish right from wrong and directly launched the curse seal. It doesn't make sense no matter how you look at it. Didn't they give an explanation? Xing'ai Feng asked again. If the people of the main family are not stupid, they will definitely give an explanation to the branch family. In public, the caged bird was launched without any proper reason. As long as the main family is sane, they will definitely give a satisfactory explanation to the branch family. But unfortunately, there is really something wrong with the Zong family's brains. Hinata Takuya's eyes became dim. He clenched his fists and said hatefully, "Not only did the Zong family not give an explanation, but they also accused Hime of offending the Zong family. She should be punished." Such words made Xing'ai Feng furious. Uchiha Wang couldn't help but think to himself when he heard such an outrageous thing. Fortunately, he was not born in the Hyuga family. Oh no, it was the Hyuga branch family. Are we just going to let this matter go? Xing'ai Feng frowned and asked unwillingly. Hinata Takuya looked depressed, with 2 lines of hot tears streaming down his face, the meaning of which was self-evident. This matter can only be left like this. If you are not satisfied, you will be bullied again in the future. By then, it will be more than just a bird in a cage. There was silence in the ward. Xing'ai Feng slowly exhaled and said, "This matter will not end so easily." He looked at Hinata Kazumi as if he was making a promise, and then left. Seeing this, the other 2 also left. After leaving the hospital, Hoshino Kid lowered his head in deep thought, while Fujito Takatora and Uchiha Nozomi followed behind him. "Wang, what do you think the boss will do?" asked Fujito Takatora. Uchiha Wang glanced at him and said, "I don't know, but he won't give up." This was his intuition, a man's 6th sense. Fujito Takatora frowned and said with some concern, "But I'm afraid the boss will go directly against the Hyuga clan. Even if the Hokage comes, he won't be able to interfere with this. Although he is timid, he has a very flexible mind." The caged bird is one of the family inheritances, deeply ingrained in Hinata's bones. Even Hashirama cannot interfere, as this is someone else's clan's business. Of course, if the Hokage was Uchiha Madara, things would probably be reversed. Uchiha Wang was greatly surprised and looked at him in amazement. "I'm surprised you could think of this." Fujito Takatora scratched his head, feeling a little embarrassed, his face slightly red. "What you said makes sense, but you are wrong about one thing. The Hokage can be in charge in some areas." Uchiha Wang chuckled and said meaningfully. Fujito Takatora had a puzzled look on his face, not knowing what to do. Uchiha looked into the distance, looked at Hoshino Kid in front of him with a slightly flickering gaze, and smiled. "You, I'm afraid, don't know how powerful he is." Uchiha Wang secretly complained in his heart that he was so good in all aspects. Just as Fujito Takatora said, there is no reason for Hoshino Kid to interfere in the internal affairs of the Hyuga clan. After all, it is an internal matter of the family, and even he has no right to interfere. But what Uchiha Wang said was right. Some things don't need to be done openly. There are many factors that determine victory or defeat, and if a direct approach doesn't work, then use indirect methods. Thinking of this, Xing'ai Feng's eyes suddenly lit up, and he turned to say to the 2 people behind him, You guys go back first, I have a solution. Seeing this, Uchiha shrugged, turned to Tadu Takatora and said, Look, I'll tell you what I am saying. After saying goodbye to the two, Ashino Kid went straight to the Hokage building. Although he couldn't interfere in other people's affairs, this was Konoha. Even if your Hyuga clan has great rules, they are still dependent on Konoha village. In front of the head of a village, you have to give way to everything. This is the advantage of power. It is not Xing'ai Feng's wish to use his power to bully others, but if others bully him, then it cannot be his fault. When he arrived at the door, Xing'ai Feng adjusted his face, pouted his mouth, and looked like he was crying but not crying. With his cute appearance, people couldn't help but feel pity for him. Teacher, Xing'ai Feng said with a sob as he pushed the door open. When Hashirama, who was processing documents, looked up, he saw a person staring at him with a wrong look. Hashirama knew why he came here, and was about to say something, but stopped abruptly and changed the subject to say jokingly, What's wrong? You look so aggrieved. Who bullied you? You are usually as calm as an adult, without any energy at all, and now you are about to cry. The sarcastic words made Xing'ai Feng roll his eyes at him in his heart. I secretly complained. Teacher, if you want to laugh at me, just say it. He dared to guarantee that Hashirama definitely knew what he was doing here. Right next to him, there were several Anbu people waiting in the dark. It went without saying that it was Hashirama who did it. Chapter 34 Negotiations, Unsatisfactory. The Anbu reports directly to the Hokage and are a special force that only obeys the Hokage's orders. The entire village is under the surveillance of the Anbu, and no movement can be hidden from them. There was no way Hashirama didn't know what he was doing here. Kazumi is his friend, and if anything happens, the Anbu will pass the news to Hashirama immediately. Hashirama was pretending to be confused, so Hoshino Kid had to explain his purpose. Teacher, the caged bird on Kazumi's forehead has been triggered and she has been unconscious ever since. Can you think of a solution? Ashino Feng blinked his eyes, as if he had suffered some great injustice. Hashirama coughed twice and said seriously, That little girl is unconscious. Is there such a thing? Someone, go and ask the Hyuga clan leader to come over. Seeing this pretentious tone, Xing'ai Feng rolled his eyes at him helplessly. Not long after, footsteps were heard outside the door. When Hinata Yufeng entered the room, he saw Hoshino Kid. He paused slightly, then saluted as if nothing had happened. Greetings, Hokage-sama. Hashirama waved his hand kindly and said, You're too polite, Hyuga clan leader. I wonder why Lord Hokage called me here. Hinata Yufeng looked at Hoshino Kid while speaking. Hashirama said with a smile, It's nothing serious, it's just that this brat said his friend is unconscious. So he asked me to help see if there is any way. But the child belongs to the Hyuga family, so we asked the clan leader to come over and solve the problem together. Upon hearing this, Hyuga Yufu looked at Hashirama, then at Hoshino Kid, sighed slightly in his heart, and said, Kazumi is a member of the Hyuga branch family. It is Kazumi's blessing to be cared for by the Hokage. Sure enough, this matter couldn't end like this. The main family handled the branch family indiscriminately, which could have minimized the impact. But Kazumi is not an ordinary branch family member. The elders of the clan thought that Hime was a soft person and could be bullied at will. But I forgot about the factor of Hoshino Kid. This is a tricky situation. On one side is the authority of the main family, and on the other side is the Hokage. It is really difficult to make a decision. Hashirama waved his hand and said meaningfully, As the Hokage, it makes sense that you would care about the people of the village. Hyuga clan leader, don't you think so? Hinata Li Guang sighed inwardly, and after a moment of silence, he smiled bitterly and nodded. Hokage-sama is not wrong, but the elders he made the point clear and the meaning was self-evident. If the main family wants to make trouble, I hope the Hokage can solve the matter. Haha, of course, please rest assured, Hyuga clan leader. Hashirama chuckled. The Hyuga clan leader breathed a sigh of relief. It would be easy since there were people in front to support him. A fierce look flashed across his eyes. The elders made the decision without going through him, which put him in a very different position. Since you are unkind, don't blame me. After some friendly conversation, the Hyuga clan leader left the Hokage's office. Fang didn't say anything the whole time, just looked at the two people quietly. After everyone left, Fang said dissatisfiedly, "Is this the end?" Hashirama propped his chin up with his fingers and smiled. "So what do you want?" Fang curled his lips. "I thought I could vent my anger for Kazumi, otherwise I would be unhappy." "Don't worry, there are many ways to vent your anger." Hashirama's mouth curled up slightly. Kazumi's matter has nothing to do with the Hyuga clan leader. It was the elders of the clan who made the decision privately. They will not feel good when they return. Hearing this, Fang frowned and said, "But can the Hyuga clan leader suppress the elders?" "It was impossible before." Hashirama chuckled. "But it's okay as long as I can secretly help." Hoshino-ki looked Hashirama up and down suspiciously, which made him feel uneasy. "What's that look in your face? Did my beloved teacher come up with such a sinister idea?" Fang was a little skeptical. "Ha." Hashirama gave a silly smile, looking not very smart. Fang couldn't do anything about him. This kind of insensible behavior happened more than once or twice, and he was used to it. What will happen to Kazumi next? Fang asked a question that he was most concerned about. "Don't worry, the Hyuga clan leader will handle this matter." Hashirama gave a reply. Fang didn't say anything else, but he still felt very aggrieved. Hashirama noticed his unhappy expression and touched his head. Life is not always smooth sailing. There will always be things that are not satisfactory. Fang raised his head with a stubborn look in his eyes, as if he did not agree. Hashirama sighed, his verbal tone changing. "However, if you still feel unhappy, you can do whatever you want, as long as no one dies." Fang's eyes flickered and he squinted slightly, looking eager to make a move. Seeing this, Hashirama shook his head helplessly and silently lit a stick of incense for the Hyuga clan. Just as the two were looking at each other in silence, Tobirama walked in and said expressionlessly, "Brother, everything has been checked out. Those people had serious problems. They thought they were doing it carefully, but I still found out. All the evidence has been collected." Hashirama's eyes lit up and he said, "That's good. Send this evidence to the Hyuga clan leader. He will know what to do." Tobirama nodded expressionlessly. He had always been ruthless towards these village parasites. A flash of murderous intent flashed across his eyes. If it weren't for his status, he couldn't kill him right now. Otherwise, he would have started a massacre long ago. With emotions surging, Tobirama left with a cold face. Hoshino-ki observed a moment of silence for Hinata. It was really bad luck to be targeted by this person. But on second thought, if it weren't for the ghost, Tobirama wouldn't have found the opportunity, so it was all his own fault. "Teacher, I'll go do my thing first." Fang found an opportunity to slip away, ready to avenge Kazumi. Hashirama waved his hands with a look of disgust, as if he was shooing away a fly. Fang walked out of the office with a gloomy face and decided not to come again unless it was an emergency. As soon as he came out, he was surrounded by 3 people. Izawa Ikumi raised her fist in anger and said angrily, "Well, what does Lord Hokage say? Those guys must be made to pay the price." Fujito Takatora also nodded in agreement. Uchiha Wang had a blank expression on his face, but one could still feel the coldness around him. Like a sword, ready to be unsheathed at any time. Fang was deeply moved and said, "Well, the result is not too bad, not good or bad, but it doesn't meet my expectations anyway. I'm afraid we'll have to do it ourselves regarding Heme's affairs." His words stunned everyone. Uchiha Wang stroked his chin and analyzed. It seems that the Hokage cannot intervene openly, which is expected. What do you mean by expected? I think it's favoritism. Izawa Ikumi didn't care at all about Hoshino Kid in front of her, and said whatever she thought. Fujito Takatora said slowly, maybe there is something unspeakable. He is not like Izawa Ikumi who speaks without restraint, so he still has to be careful. Chapter 35, Night Visit to Hyuga. Everyone, I'm still here. Can you please be more polite? Xing'ai Fang protested in a low voice. But obviously, no one paid any attention to him. In desperation, Hoshino Kid changed the topic and talked about venting her anger on behalf of Kazumi. After hearing this, several people immediately quieted down, their eyes eager to take action. Izawa Ikumi was even more active, waving her fists as big as sandbags, creating a breeze. The violent look made the timid Fujito Takatora shrink his neck, fearing that he would be affected. The teacher said that we can't cause any deaths, so let's beat up the culprit and vent our anger for Kazumi. Hoshino Kid said. Uchiha Wang frowned. But they are in the Hyuga clan territory, how can we get in? Hoshino Fang smiled without saying anything, then raised his hand and the space in front of him suddenly broke, forming a hole. Don't forget that I can control time. Teleporting is a piece of cake. That's great. This way we can sneak in quietly. Izawa Ikumi said excitedly. Uchiha Wang nodded in agreement and secretly made up his mind that he would never become an enemy of Hoshino Kid in the future. This ability is so buggy that it catches people off guard and is completely unpreventable. But there is still a problem right now, Fujito Takatora suddenly said, making everyone look at him instantly. Fujito Takatora's neck shrank when he was looked at, and he said, "Do you know who we are going to beat? What's his name?" This sentence hits the nail on the head. This is indeed a difficult question. Xing'ai Fang lowered his head and thought for a moment. His peripheral vision accidentally caught sight of someone hiding in the dark, and an idea flashed in his mind. A malicious smile appeared on his face, and then the figure disappeared in an instant. The three of them looked at each other, feeling uneasy. A minute later, Xing'ai Fang came back with someone. The man was wearing a mask and his face could not be seen clearly. "This is the solution to the problem," Xing'ai Fang said with satisfaction. Could it be someone from the Anbu?" Uchiha Wang said doubtfully with a twitching mouth. Hoshino Kid gave him a thumbs up, confirming his guess. "Yes, the teacher sent me here. When it comes to gathering intelligence, they are the best." Feng Xing'ai patted the back of the person he captured as a compliment. However, this kind of praise made others swallow their saliva and sweat ran down their foreheads. The Anbu is the secret department of Konoha and has great power. Every Anbu has at least the strength of an elite chunin. The Anbu minister is the #1 person under the Hokage, and is someone that all the major families want to be on good terms with. Even ordinary Anbu members have very high status and are not someone that ordinary people can afford to offend. And now, Xing'ai Fang directly grabbed one of them. How could he not be shocked and terrified? I don't want to go to jail yet, Fujito Takatora said in extreme panic, with tears in his eyes. Uchiha Wang looked at Hoshino Kid with an indescribable look. Even the usually brave Izawa Ikumi showed a look of fear. It can be seen how serious what Xing'ai Feng did was in their eyes. Seeing the extremely frightened expressions of his friends, Xing'ai Feng smiled inwardly, pressed his hands down and comforted them. "Don't worry, he's my man. I'm also listed in the Anbu. I'm nominally his captain." After hearing this explanation, several people were skeptical, but fortunately the Anbu spoke up to explain. "Master Hoshino is right. I am Master Hoshino's subordinate. Your worries are unnecessary." Several people couldn't help but breathe a sigh of relief, and then looked at Xing'ai Feng with resentful eyes. It's my fault that you guys are so slow-witted." Xing'ai Feng shrugged, looking like it was none of his business. With the information provided by the Anbu and Bug's ability, everything is ready. At night, everyone came directly to the Hyuga clan's territory without any hindrance. Uchiha Wang opened his Sharingan, and a Magatama appeared in his eye. The scarlet eyes looked extremely creepy in the dark night. "Wang, did you find it?" Ishinokid asked in a low voice while controlling the volume. "It's late at night and most people have gone to bed. The Sharingan cannot compare to the Byakugan in terms of insight, but it is almost the same at short distances. Don't be in a hurry. If I get discovered, I'll be finished." Uchiha Wang walked slowly and cautiously with every step. Hearing this, Fang touched his nose guiltily. When the action was about to begin, everyone realized that there were some flaws. The Uchiha clan members sneaked into the Hyuga clan's territory late at night. If they were caught red-handed, Konoha village would be in trouble. Ishinokid could imagine that Hashirama was scratching his ears and cheeks with a headache. Therefore, actions must be taken with caution, otherwise Uchiha Nozomi would be doomed. Ishinokid himself will definitely be fine. The other two are civilians, and Konoha is currently strongly supporting civilians. It is impossible to impose a severe punishment, so in the end the only one to be punished is Uchiha Nozomi, which is quite miserable. It is for this reason that Uchiha Nozomi is so hesitant, and others express their understanding and support. The Hyuga clan's territory is very large, only slightly smaller than the Uchiha clans. It took a while to walk around before we determined the target's location. Uchiha Wang gestured to convey the information to everyone. Izawa Ikumi was already impatient. After confirming the target, she took the lead and rushed in. Seeing this, Fujito Taketora immediately followed. Uchiha Wang was about to get up and go inside, but Ishinokid didn't move. "What's wrong?" Uchiha Wang asked silently. Fang's brows were twisted into a knot. He turned his head and looked somewhere. At this time, a figure was standing there. Uchiha Wang's eyes widened, and a second later he immediately assumed a fighting stance. However, Fang patted his shoulder and signaled him not to be nervous. "You go first. I have something to talk to him about," Fang said in his ear. Seeing this, Uchiha frowned for a long time before relaxing his brows, looking deeply at the figure, and then entering the room. Fang shot out the flying thunder god kunai from his hand and instantly appeared next to the figure. It's surprising that Lord Tabarama would secretly visit the Hyuga clan's territory so late at night. Fang stood opposite him and said expressionlessly. Faced with his sarcasm, Tabarama was not annoyed. He looked at the people in the room with a deep gaze and raised his eyebrows. "I am really surprised that you came up with such a naive idea." This tone made Fang unhappy, and he immediately fought back. "Childish. I'm just a child. I'm not like you, full of schemes." It was just a matter of pointing at his nose and saying that he was insidious. Tabarama accepted this completely. After all, there were many people who said bad things about him in private. One more or one less doesn't make much, and it doesn't matter either. While the two were talking, 3 people led by Izawa Ikumi were rubbing their hands, eager to give it a try. Tabarama saw all this, but did not stop it. "If you want to realize your dream, the caged bird is a hurdle you cannot avoid," Tabarama said meaningfully. Ishinokid narrowed his eyes and thought about the deeper meaning of Tabarama's words. Chapter 36, Immortality is a Curse. The Hyuga clan is conservative. The bird in the cage has been passed down for thousands of years. Over time, it has become more than just an imprint on the body. A layer of chains has also been added to the soul. The resentment between the clans has been accumulating for a long time. If we want to overcome the rift, it will probably take a long time, or even be impossible. Tabarama lived up to his wisdom and pointed out the shortcomings of the Hyuga clan sharply. The feud between the main family and the branch family is like a time bomb, and no one knows when it will explode. It is hidden deep within the depths of Konoha, so be careful at all times. The corners of Xing'ai Feng's mouth rose, and he looked up at the starry sky. Master Tabarama has said so much in one breath. I think there must be a solution. Hearing this, Tabarama shook his head and said frankly, no, the key root lies in the bird in the cage, but even I can't break it. It's not just the bird in the cage and the bones of the separated family is also a problem. Right now, there's nothing I can do. Xing'ai Feng chuckled and turned to look at him. So? Tabarama's eyes flickered, which was very obvious against the background of Yimu. So, I would like you to come up with a solution after I die. Xing'ai Feng looked at him deeply, his eyes deep like a deep pool, and said softly, you know what? The corners of Tabarama's mouth rose slightly, and a confident smile appeared. It seems that my guess was correct. Xing'ai Feng stared at him quietly, then sighed softly and said admiringly, you are really perceptive. When did you notice it? Tabarama smiled even more and said, I didn't notice it, but I uncovered it bit by bit and finally confirmed it. Xing'ai Feng looked puzzled, raised his eyebrows, and waited for his next words. Tabarama continued, I know a little about time and space. You have eternal life, right? Xing'ai Feng remained silent, lowered his head, and spoke after a moment. That's great, but can we be sure that our guess is correct? Tabarama shook his head and said seriously, the facts will not lie. When all possibilities are ruled out, the one that remains is the final answer. Xing'ai Feng sighed and smiled, that's what they say, but how many people can really do it? Tabarama looked at him quietly until Hoshino-Kid spoke again. When I knew I had an infinite life, I was afraid that everything I was familiar with would disappear with time. But someone told me that being afraid is useless. It will only make you more afraid. You should try to accept it. Hoshino-Kid looked melancholy. Although the words were nice, it was so difficult to understand them. He continued, someone once said that immortality is the cruelest punishment in the world, a curse. What do you think? Tabarama thought for a moment and chuckled, whether it is a punishment or a curse, only you can decide. Xing'ai Feng nodded as if he understood something. Suddenly, Tabarama said something again. Xiao Feng, do you want to be Hokage? Xing'ai Feng glanced at him and asked, what do you think? Me? Tabarama smiled softly. Big brother said that you are different from us. Now it seems that it is true. You don't like being constrained and don't want to be trapped in a small space. Hoshino-Kid sighed. The teacher knows me well, and what he said is not wrong. Also, Tabarama raised his eyebrows and asked in confusion. Hoshino Feng stretched and yawned. I just think it's too early now. Let's wait another 10 years. I haven't had enough fun yet. His eyes swept back and forth over his friend and he spoke with vigor. There were a few black lines on Tabarama's forehead. Play? Such a reason is really too outrageous. Can such a person really lead Konoha to create peace? He expressed deep doubts. Well, it's almost dawn, it's time to go. Hoshino Feng looked up at the sky, then jumped down and prepared to meet up with them. Hoshino Feng paused halfway through his walk, turned around and said, Konoha is not just about the Hyuga, the Uchiha as well. They are just as misunderstood. After saying that, he left. Tabarama pondered the last sentence carefully. A faint light flashed, and then his figure disappeared on the spot. It was dawn at this time and Feng Xing'ai was guarding outside the door. After the three men had taken revenge, they walked out in a hunched posture. How is it? Do you feel better after letting out this breath? Said Hoshino Feng, leaning against the wall. Izawa Ikumi said with a refreshed look, of course, you didn't see how bruised and battered he was. I guess his parents couldn't recognize him. It was so cool. Uchiha Wang still spoke very little, but from the upturned corners of his mouth it could be seen that he was in a good mood. Even the usually timid to-do Takatora's face showed obvious relief. Seeing this, Xing'ai Feng nodded and said, everything is done. Let's leave quickly. It will be dawn soon. Only then did everyone realize that it was already daybreak. Fang used the same trick again to open the space channel. Several people passed through quickly and appeared in a hidden place. After a night of action, everyone was in high spirits, but physically and mentally exhausted. Being in a tense state for a long time, I almost collapsed to the ground when I came out. Exciting! Izawa Ikimi looked around and shouted loudly after confirming that there was no one around. Uchiha Wang's eyes stayed on Hashino-kid, as if he wanted to say something but stopped himself. Fang patted his shoulder and said, "If you have something to say, just say it. Don't keep it in your heart." After hearing this, Uchiha Wang asked directly, "Who was the figure before?" It was dark at the time and visibility was poor. The Sharingan was not omnipotent and could only make out some outlines. Uchiha Wang guessed that it was probably a man. Hashino-kid said, "It's Master Tobirama." Uchiha Wang frowned. He didn't feel good about Senju Tobirama. There are rumors within the clan that Senju Tobirama always deliberately targets the Uchiha. Although he didn't have the letter, he heard it day and night, which made him subconsciously hate him. Fang didn't notice and continued, "I talked to him. Do you want to listen?" Uchiha Wang is not stupid. Even though Hashino-kid doesn't care, he still has to take it to heart. The conversation between the top leaders is not something a small person like him can listen to. "No, just curious." Seeing Uchiha Wang's caution, Fang said nothing and just smiled. Then he said to everyone, "That's all for today. Go back quickly. Oh, we can't fall behind in training. I haven't slept for a whole night and I still have to practice. Can I get some sleep first?" Fujito Takatora wailed after hearing this. Although he is talented, he is at the bottom of the group. In addition, he is lazy and does not like training. Fang frowned, his face serious, and looked at him sharply. "No, you must practice, and you can't slack off at all." Fujito Takatora had never seen Hashino-kid so stern before, and was so frightened that he didn't know what to say. "What's wrong? You seem very anxious." Uchiha frowned. Chapter 37 Konoha 9 years. "Haha, is that so?" Fang laughed. "I'm just supervising him, nothing else. Gao Hu is always lazy. This won't work. So we need to be stricter." Upon hearing this, Fujito Takatora was so moved that he burst into tears. Fang scratched his head, looking puzzled. "I shouldn't be so moved." Uchiha Wang sneered and said, "Look carefully, are those tears of emotion?" "They are clearly tears of fear." Fang smiled awkwardly, then immediately looked away and pretended not to see it. "It's getting late. I'm leaving now. Remember not to be lazy." After he finished speaking hurriedly, he ran away without a trace. When it came to running away, Fang had never been afraid of anyone. "Hey, wait a minute." Izawa Ikumi was about to say wait a minute, but the person disappeared in the blink of an eye. Run so fast," Izawa Ikumi said helplessly with her mouth twitching. Uchiha Wang walked up to Fujito Takatora, said something and turned away. "Hurry up and train. He might know some secrets." Fujito Takatora was stunned for a second before he reacted. "What do you mean?" "Yes, what do you mean? Tell me clearly," Izawa Ikumi said with her hands on her hips, looking dissatisfied. Uchiha Wang stopped and looked a little gloomy, as if he had anticipated something bad. They were both shocked by his expression. "Wang, you look very unwell. Do you want to go to the hospital?" Fujito Takatora, who was not good at reading expressions, thought he was sick. Uchiha Wang sighed, uttered a few words slowly, and left, leaving the two of them standing there in a daze. "Maybe there will be a war in the future." After a long time, the two of them came to their senses from his words, and Izawa Ikumi murmured, "War? You must be kidding. We have only had peace for a few years." She had a look of disbelief on her face, hoping that the guy had never lied and her premonition was accurate. "But that's a war. Will it really make a sound?" Izawa Ikumi turned to look at Fujito Takatora, who had a fearful look in his eyes, sighed, and took his hand and said, "Come on, I'll train with you, and I'll double the amount of training from now on." After that, without giving him a chance to refute, he pulled him towards the training ground. In this way, Fujito Takatora began his miserable life for the next few years in a daze. That day, the whole of Konoha seemed to be able to hear his plaintive voice. Time flies, spring goes and autumn comes, and in the blink of an eye it is the 9th year of Konoha. The gentle sunlight shone in the courtyard, and Hadake Isshin and Hoshino Kid sat opposite each other. "Uncle Isshin, you are too strict with Sakumo. He is only a little over a year old." Hoshino Fang looked at Hadake Sakumo, who was practicing basic skills in the yard and could hardly stand steadily, and said with some heartache, "It's really pitiful that a little kid has to go through such boring training." Hadake Isshin took a sip of green tea, glanced at his son, and said calmly, "1-year-old is just right. Now is the perfect time to lay the foundation for him. I know you care about him, but he enjoys it too." Upon hearing this, Xing'ai Feng shook his head and sighed, and stopped trying to dissuade him. One by one, 2 of them, both of us, were willing, making it seem like he was a bad guy. "Let's not talk about him, let's talk about you." Hadake Isshin knelt upright with his body straight. "Me? What is there to say?" Xing'ai Feng narrowed his eyes and took a sip of tea with enjoyment. Hadake Isshin stared at him, and Hoshino Kid felt very uncomfortable. "Uncle, why are you looking at me like that?" Xing'ai Feng's mouth twitched and he said helplessly. Hadake Isshin snorted and crossed his arms. "You know why I look at you. Many families have been getting restless recently. Don't say you didn't know. Look, do you want to say something?" Xing'ai Feng was also helpless. He thought it would be quieter here. It's no longer possible to stay at home, as people come to visit and give gifts every few minutes. He was annoyed, so he moved here and came to visit Shuo Mao. I didn't expect that Uncle Isshin would be so concerned. Isn't it just the position of the second Hokage? Isn't it obvious that Lord Tabarama has the right to do it? So why would anyone still have such delusional thoughts? "Uncle, I'm not interested in the position of Hokage right now." Hoshino Kid shook his head like a rattle, as if the position of Hokage was a huge trouble. "You are the only one who is afraid to avoid it, while others are just hoping it will happen to them," Hadake Isshin said speechlessly. Hee, that's because people won't cherish things that are easy to get." Hoshino Kid chuckled. "Hokage is not the most important thing to me at the moment." Hadake Isshin became interested and asked, "What's important then?" Of course Hoshino Kid leaned closer and said mysteriously, "My youth." The face that asked for a beating made Hadake Isshin want to beat him up. "Hey, uncle, you can't beat me, so just save yourself the trouble and go beat up Sakumo." Xing'ai Feng blinked his eyes, not panicking at all, and even wanted to divert the trouble away. "Oh you?" Hadake was discouraged. Hoshino Kid's words were like a basin of cold water poured on his head, extinguishing his raging anger. "But Sakumo, go run around the yard." Hadake Isshin waved his hand and vented his anger on Masaku. The young Hadake Sakumo was confused. He didn't know why his father was like this. But the ignorant boy subconsciously followed his father's instructions, dropped his wooden sword, and started running in circles. "Tisk tisk, Sakumo is so pitiful." Hoshino Kid sighed. But he liked it. It was nice to build happiness on the pain of others. Hadake Isshin glared at him when he heard this. Hoshino Fen turned his head and whistled, looking as if he didn't care. Hadake Isshin coughed dryly, and Hoshino Kid raised an eyebrow and looked at him. "It doesn't matter if you don't want to be one. At least Hokage-sama will be fine in the short term. When you are older, maybe you will change your mind." Xing'ai Fen lowered his eyes, and a trace of sadness flashed in his eyes. "I'm afraid it won't be what you want. Alas, things have only been stable for a few years, and now they are starting to become turbulent again." We really can't stop for even a moment. Haddock-Ishin sighed to himself, but there was nothing he could do about it. The struggle for power and profit has been inevitable since ancient times. The position of Hokage is enviable. Don't worry, Konoha's sky is high. If you want it to collapse, it depends on whether I agree or not. After feeling sad, Fang heard these words, grinned, and said arrogantly. In response, Haddock remained non-committal. On the contrary, I agree with it. It has only been a few years since he started training, but his aura has become more and more fierce. I'm afraid that after some time, it will reach the level of a movie. Sakumo, stop running, come here and rest for a while. Hishino waved to the little guy and said. Haddock-Ishin didn't react when he heard this and just agreed. The little guy was also good at observing people's expressions and knew that his father's silence was the same as his consent. She immediately ran obediently into Fang's arms. Come here, you are sweating all over. It's all because your father is too strict. Fang kept talking, but his words were full of doting. Even Haddock-Ishin couldn't help but glance at his son. What's so good about this kid that Fang loves him so much? It's quite ordinary. Chapter 38 Uchiha Clan Association. Fang was enjoying a leisurely afternoon, not caring at all about what others were saying. A few months ago, Hashirama suddenly announced that Tobirama Senju would handle government affairs on his behalf. People were not surprised at first. After all, Hashirama didn't look very smart. It would probably be torture for him to sit in the office. I just thought that maybe the Hokage was tired of this kind of life, but as time went on, Hashirama rarely showed up, which led to rumors gradually spreading. For a while, there was a lot of discussion, and people were talking about all kinds of things, but the most discussed topic was the Hokage's health. After all, he hasn't appeared in public for a long time, which inevitably makes people wonder if something has gone wrong. The well-informed ninja clan got some deeper inside information. An idea suddenly came to my mind. The pillar of Konoha, the god of ninja realm Hashirama Senju, may be in trouble. This is not unfounded. Ninjas start training at a young age, so their bodies will inevitably be left with hidden injuries, which will affect their lifespan to a certain extent. Not to mention someone of Senju Hashirama's level, who has been fighting for years and injuries are inevitable. Even if one has a strong physique, it cannot resist the decline of life. Now that the Hokage has suddenly disappeared, everyone can't help but imagine and think of some bad things. At this time, all the major families were discussing the Hokage, or to be more precise, the position of the next Hokage. Uchiha clan land. All the Uchiha clan members who have opened the Sharingan gathered here, including Uchiha Nozomi. Everyone knelt and sat upright with their backs straight. Ever since Uchiha Madara defected, the Uchiha clan has been quiet and nothing has happened for a long time. The current clan leader, Uchiha Kong, glanced at everyone with a sharp gaze, paused for a second on Uchiha Jing and Uchiha Wang, and then retracted his gaze. He cleared his throat and said slowly, "Everyone, the Hokage has not appeared for a long time. There is a high possibility that he has health problems. Now rumors are spreading in the village. How should I, the Uchiha, respond? Everyone, tell me what to do." He just started the conversation and the rest was open for discussion. After hearing the clan leader's words, the people below began to whisper and discuss. Soon, a middle-aged Uchiha stood up and said angrily, "Clan leader, this is an opportunity for us Uchiha to compete for the position of Hokage." His words instantly created a wave of discussion, and all eyes were focused on him. Some of those who agreed with him nodded and echoed. Yes, Uchiha Makoto is right. The position of Hokage should belong to us Uchiha. If the first generation can't be appointed, then the second generation should be the Uchiha. That's right, that's how it should be. 1/3 of the people agree with it, which is a number that cannot be underestimated. Uchiha Kong lowered his head and thought, his brows deeply furrowed. I didn't let those words affect my judgment. Humph, how arrogant. We don't have the strength to compete for the Hokage right now. Some people agree, and naturally some people oppose it. A young Uchiha objected loudly, and his reasons were straightforward. To sum up, the Uchiha is not strong enough now and has no chance of winning. Uchiha Makoto glared at him and said angrily, "Little brat, I think you are just scared. You don't deserve the surname Uchiha at all. It's a rare opportunity now. Who says I don't have the ability?" The man sneered, with sarcasm in his eyes. "Strength? What strength do we have? Since that person left, our Uchiha situation has been on the edge of a cliff. If you still want to compete for the Hokage, won't you be dragging the Uchiha into the abyss?" he said with disdain, looking down on all these arrogant people and saying they were completely brainless. "Do you dare to say it again? So what if I said it?" The two of them were at loggerheads, their eyes sparking invisible sparks, and the atmosphere was full of gunpowder. "Enough. Shut up." Uchiha Kong couldn't stand it any longer. What did he think this place was? A vegetable market? The clan leader spoke and suppressed the two people who disliked each other. Their quarrel made his head buzz with pain. Well, what do the elders think? He ignored the others and focused his attention on the three elders. These are all old people. They may not be very strong, but their experience is far superior to those present. As the young man said, Uchiha is still on the brink. Since the founding of Konoha village, the first rebel ninja came from Uchiha, which made the family lose face. Every step we take now must be cautious, and we must not take any empty steps. It is said that having an old person in the family is like having a treasure. Now we need the experience and advice of the elderly. The great elder and the other two elders looked at each other, stroked their gray beards, and said, "Clan leader, the position of Hokage is indeed not ours at the moment." "Elder." Uchiha Makoto could no longer sit still and was about to speak. The great elder raised his hand slightly to stop him from saying the next words. "Don't be impatient, little guy. Impatience will affect your judgment," the elder said slowly. He was the oldest person present, already had one foot in the coffin, and spoke slowly and calmly. If it weren't for the patriarch's repeated requests, he would probably be enjoying a leisurely afternoon. Uchiha Makoto sat down with an unwilling look on his face due to the authority of his elders. The great elder opened his eyelids and looked at everyone with cloudy eyes, a gleam of light in his eyes. "If the second-generation Hokage is as I expected, it should be born between Senju Tabarama and Hoshino Kid." The words were full of confidence and the tone was very affirmative. The reactions of the tribesmen below were varied. Some were resentful, some were shocked, and some were regretful. Uchiha Kong saw all these looks and sighed in his heart. "You are still too young. You are tempted by the immediate benefits and have lost your basic judgment. Why? It's okay for Tabarama, but why does that brat Hoshino Kid have the right?" Uchiha Makoto said this with gritted teeth, as if Hoshino Kid was his enemy. "Huh?" The great elder frowned and was about to scold. Uchiha Kong took the lead, a strong aura poured onto him, his eyes were cold. Uchiha Makoto felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar, and his whole body was cold. It felt like someone was squeezing my heart hard, and my breathing became rapid. "How dare you?" Uchiha Kong roared, his hair and beard stood up, and his pair of scarlet blood eyes opened. Uchiha Makoto suddenly felt pressured and didn't dare to look him in the eye. A strong person may not necessarily be the clan leader, but the clan leader must be powerful. Kong, forget it. They still know too little about that person. The great elder tried to smooth things over. But Uchiha Makoto still looked stubborn and didn't even notice the person who kept winking at him. "I'm right, he's not qualified." You did it." Uchiha Kong was furious, his body trembling slightly, and the disappointment in his eyes was beyond words. At the same time, his eyes were always on Uchiha Wang. After all, the relationship between the two is unusual, and they are both very talented. If he becomes alienated from the family because of this, it would be more trouble than gain. Chapter 39, No Kage-level Hyuga. Uchiha Makoto stiffened his neck, looking unconvinced, and continued to slander Hoshino Kid. The dissatisfaction was vented at this moment, making Uchiha air tremble all over. This idiot. Heh. Uchiha Wang suddenly sneered, with a disdainful expression on his face. Kid, what do you mean? Am I wrong in what I said? Uchiha Makoto had already fallen into paranoia, and when he saw someone objecting, he immediately spoke in a harsh voice. Uchiha Wang narrowed his eyes, feeling uncomfortable in his heart, and said sarcastically, I am worried about your intelligence. The Great Elder has made it clear enough. You are pushing the Uchiha into the fire pit. The poisonous words coming out of his mouth were like sharp thorns piercing Uchiha Makoto's fragile heart. Bastard! He was furious, like a beast that had lost its mind, and seemed to want to tear the kid in front of him to pieces. The scarlet Sharingan opened uncontrollably under extreme emotions, and the Magatama continued to spin rapidly. A chilly atmosphere rose spontaneously. Uchiha Makoto's reason was controlled by his emotions, and he completely lost his composure. He instantly appeared in front of Uchiha Wang. Big hands were about to lift him up and teach him a lesson. Cheng, what are you doing? Stop it. Uchiha Kong became furious and roared. It is expressly forbidden to attack fellow tribesmen. But Uchiha Makoto attacked suddenly, and no one could stop him for a while. In a flash, Uchiha Makoto's hand stopped in midair. Jing, do you also think what this kid said is right? Uchiha Makoto shouted loudly. Uchiha Jing narrowed his eyes and did not respond. His afterimage flashed by and Uchiha Makoto fell to the ground. Thank you. Uchiha Wang was stunned for a second. He didn't even see how Jing made the move just now. The strength is evident. Uchiha Jing nodded slightly, nodded at him, and then sat back. Someone, take Chen away and deal with him according to clan rules. Uchiha Kong breathed a sigh of relief when he saw this. Fortunately, Jing acted in time, otherwise it would have been troublesome. He looked at the unconscious Uchiha Makoto and immediately announced the punishment. Uchiha Makoto was taken away and there was silence for a moment. Uchiha Kong and the Great Elder looked at each other, communicated silently, and then spoke. Xing'ai Feng's strength is a mystery, and he is rarely seen in action. But based on the current information, his strength is no less than that of a Jonin. One stone can cause 1,000 ripples. If Uchiha Makoto were still alive, he would definitely be shocked. Patriarch, is this really possible? Yes. Even if you have a bloodline limit, your strength can't be improved so quickly. Many people expressed doubts, because Hoshino Kid was only 9 years old, and at this age, he could only reach the level of Chunin in the clan. According to the clan leader's words, the lowest rank is a Jonin, but what about the highest rank? Is it an elite Jonin? It's really unbelievable. Uchiha Kong pressed his hands down, signaling for silence, and said solemnly, Don't doubt it, this is the fact. Its bloodline limit is extremely strong and rare. Have you forgotten what happened in the Hyuga clan's territory a year ago? The patriarch's words startled everyone and they began to recall what happened at that time. Uchiha Wang lowered his eyes, as if he was thinking about something, but upon closer inspection, the corners of his mouth were raised, as if he was trying not to laugh. A year ago, it was these few of them who sneaked into the Hyuga clan's territory at night and beat up the grandson of the third elder of the main family. Although Hinata concealed the news at that time, the truth eventually came out. The Uchiha still taunts Hinata about this. Chief, could it be that at this time, someone thought of something? Uchiha Kong closed his eyes and nodded slightly. Although there is no evidence, many families know who did it, but no one admits it. The Byakugan of the Hyuga clan has an observation ability that is superior to the Sharingan, we have to admit. Even so, someone still sneaked in quietly. Just based on this method, it's not easy to mess with him. Uchiha Kong sighed as he spoke. If this ability is used for assassination, who can stop it? Hearing this, all the Uchiha fell silent. Seeing this, Uchiha Kong nodded with satisfaction and continued. And don't forget, Ashino Kid is still the Hokage's disciple. He has both strength and status. I wouldn't be surprised if such a person became the Hokage. So, the current Uchiha is not qualified to compete for the Hokage. Now that things have come to this, even the dumbest person won't act rashly. Uchiha Kong hadn't said another word. Since taking over the security team, the tribe's reputation has continued to decline and complaints have been everywhere. This situation is extremely unfavorable to Uchiha. Hyuga clan territory, clan leader's residence. Hinata Yufu knelt on the tatami, resting his eyes, and turning a deaf ear to the heated discussion among the elders of the main family. Hinata Mori, who was sitting next to him, had a serious look on his face. Already 15 years old, he is gradually taking over the family at the instruction of his father. After all, Hyuga Yufu is old and his body may have problems at any time. Training a successor is an urgent matter. Hinata Yufu opened his eyelids slightly and observed Hinata Sheng silently. Hinata Mori was completely unaware of this and listened to the passionate debate of the elders of the main family with a frown on his face. Generally speaking, they are arguing about whether or not to fight for the position of Hokage. Hinata Sheng frowned, looking embarrassed, and looked at several elders. But I just can't make up my mind. Hinata Yufeng saw this hesitation and shook his head and sighed. Sheng is a child with no opinion of his own. He hesitates to make decisions when he should. This is not good. In the end, I have too many concerns and can't make up my mind. While thinking about this, the elders argued until their faces turned red, and finally they turned their eyes to the patriarch. Chief, tell me, what should we do? After hearing this, Hinata Yufeng slowly opened his eyes, and Hinata Shen looked at his father, waiting for his response. I don't want to fight, and I can't fight, he said briefly, causing the elders to frown. What the clan leader means is that we wait and see what happens. The second elder guessed. Hinata Yukazi nodded. The great elder asked unwillingly when he saw the clan leader leaning towards the second elder. Why? My Hyuga clan is no worse than any other clan. Haha, having said that, the Hyuga clan does not have top combat power, Hinata Yufu said with a little sadness. The great elder fell silent instantly, his expression extremely ugly. Because what the clan leader said was the truth, and this is what the Hyuga clan lacks. Ever since the death of Hyuga Tenin, there has never been a strong Kage-level person in Hyuga. We're not even at the Kage level, how can we compete? Hinata Liuguang said with a wry smile. As the symbol of the ninja village, the strength of the shadow must not be low. The Hyuga clan does not have any Kage-level combat power, which puts them at a natural disadvantage. Seeing this, Hinata Sheng comforted him, but there are many talented people in the clan. I heard that Hinata Kazumi from the branch family is only 13 years old, and she is about to become a Jonin. Chapter 40, The Battle of the Second Hokage Part 2. Seeing this, Hinata Sheng comforted him, but there are many talented people in the clan. I heard that Hinata Kazumi from the branch family is only 13 years old, and she is about to become a Jonin. He felt that as long as nothing unexpected happened to Hinata Kazumi, it would only be a matter of time before they became Kage-level. Moreover, he is a member of the branch family and can be controlled at any time, so he will not pose a threat to the main family. I thought this was a perfect idea, but it made my father and several elders silent. Hinata Sheng's heart tightened. He looked at his father, with a hint of doubt and uneasiness in his eyes. Father, am I wrong? Hinata Yukazi sighed deeply and said with a wry smile, if you said it a year ago, it would be correct. but now he thought back to what happened a year ago and couldn't help but sigh inwardly. 1 year ago? What happened? Hinata Sheng asked with a confused look on his face. HMPH. The third elder of the clan could not help but snort coldly when he thought of the appearance of his grandson. The great elder turned his head and looked at him with a warning look, signaling him not to say anything more, as this was already a scandal of the Hyuga family. Great elder, Sheng must know. Hinata Liu Fang sighed deeply. After saying this, he looked at Hinata Mori, who only had a vague idea of what was going on, and recalled what was going on. A year ago, during the family competition, the Zong family used a caged bird, you know. Hinata Mori nodded blankly. This incident caused dissatisfaction among the branch families at that time. But no matter how dissatisfied they were suppressed without surprise. The branch family that was punished was Hinata Kazumi. Hinata Yifeng said disappointedly, while looking at the third elder with a hint of anger in his eyes. If his grandson had not used the caged bird without permission, he would not have been estranged from the family. The third elder lowered his head unconsciously when he was looked at by the clan leader, not daring to meet his gaze. After listening to this, Hinata Sheng frowned and said, but even if it is Hinata Kazumi, so what? The branch family was born for the main family. This is a responsibility she was born to bear. After hearing his words, Hyuga Yufu's face turned gloomy. On the contrary, the elders all looked approving. Hyuga Yufu frowned and sneered. Yes, it used to be like this, but something went terribly wrong, and one more person got involved. The end result is that Hinata Kazumi can't be touched at all. After hearing this, Hinata Sheng was immediately furious and said, who should interfere in the affairs of the Hinata family? Father, how can you still tolerate this? After all, they are young people, they have a bad temper and are easily impulsive. Perhaps it was the atmosphere of the clan that influenced him, making him have a strong sense of family honor. This is not a bad thing, but most of the time, it will blind his eyes and make him unable to see the way forward. Hinata Yufu looked at Hinata Mori, who was filled with anger, and spoke slowly. Xing'ai Feng, you should be familiar with him. You are so powerful, why don't you go and talk to him? When Hinata Sheng heard the name, his anger subsided and he sat down awkwardly. After all, he knew clearly what this name meant. After he fell into a coma, the third elder's grandson was beaten in the middle of the night, and there was not a single piece of healthy flesh on his body. Afterwards, we checked and found no clues, but we all had a guess in our minds. Hinata Yufu took a sip of tea and continued. Hinata Sheng was shocked, swallowed, and said in disbelief, is it Xing'ai Feng? He, not too stupid. Hinata Yufu did not respond directly. From then on, Hime is no longer something we can manipulate at will. Your idea is fundamentally invalid. Hinata Yifeng said at the end, full of regret. If that thing had not happened, if alas, I, Hyuga, cannot compete for the position of Hokage. Tabarama Senju and Kid Hashino are both not people we can mess with. I think the Uchiha people should share the same idea as us. Hinata Yifeng said sadly that there are many smart people. Although the Uchiha are arrogant, their IQ is not low. I guess they are still holding a clan meeting now, but the result should be what he expected. The situation in Konoha is changing rapidly, and people on the street are speculating who the next Hokage will be. All the major families fell silent and asked their members to speak less to avoid saying the wrong thing. A month passed in this atmosphere. There were constant footsteps on the roofs of residence houses, and almost all the Anbu members were dispatched, targeting the major families. Inside the Haddock residence, Hashino Kid looked calmly at the Anbu who was delivering the message understood. After getting the answer, the man left immediately. Hashino Fang raised his head silently and thought, it seems that the matter is about to be settled. Are you really not going to fight for it? Haddock Ishin came out from the corner. Having his thoughts interrupted, Xing'ai Feng shook his head decisively and said with a look of disgust, Uncle Yixin, please stop trying. The position of Hokage does not interest me right now. Why should I stay in that shabby place instead of enjoying my good time? His words were full of annoyance towards the Hokage, as if the Hokage was some kind of troublesome thing. A decisive refusal was what Kage-level had expected. When he heard that Hinokid had exposed him, he just chuckled. Well, when I first came to Konoha, Tabarama-sama also helped me a lot, so of course I know, otherwise I wouldn't be so easy to talk to. Fang waved his hand. He naturally knew all about this. Such magnanimity made Kage-level feel shamed. His expression was hesitant, his mouth slightly open, but he couldn't utter a word. Fang held his head in his hands and looked up at the blue sky. Don't say anything. I don't take it to heart. If you do this again, I'll be really angry. Hinokid smiled and turned to look at him. Thank you. All of Kage-level's gratitude turned into a brief thank you. The time has come. It's time to go. The show is about to begin. Fang grinned, looking like he was enjoying himself. After saying that, he activated the Flying Thunder God Hurry on Road technique, and the surrounding scenery changed, and he arrived in front of the Hokage building. At this time, the building was crowded with people, and the number of people was countless. It looks like today is going to be lively, Hinokid said, touching his chin. Lord Hashino. An old voice came, and Fang turned around and looked. It's Senior Liu Fang. I haven't seen you for a long time. I hope you are doing well lately. Hinata Yufu had a smile on his face, and his gentle temperament was obvious, like a kind old man. But in fact he is not even 50, but the traces of time are very obvious on his face. Thank you, Lord Hashino, for your concern. Hinata Yufu did not act arrogantly. The ninja world has always respected strength. With just one glance, he knew that the person in front of him had surpassed him. The meeting is about to start. Senior Liu Fang, I'll be leaving first. Fang was not familiar with him and had only met him a few times. After a few greetings, he nodded slightly and walked towards the building. Hinata Yufu looked at the figure gradually moving away, his face calm, and no one knew what he was thinking. After standing there for a while, he took a step forward. All right, legends, that's it for today. If you're ready for the next chapter, smash that like button and flood the comments right now. Remember, we've got 3 days to prove this story needs to continue. Subscribe so you don't miss the drop, and I'll meet you in the next audiobook.